Wish I could hear it. I feel like I need to get like that.
I
Get
know.
a wireless next time.
When you're ready enough for me to open this up for you.
Yeah, she's gonna come through right now,
Yeah, she'll probably come back.
and then she's gonna cue us from over there.
Oh, well, I film it. I'm like, that phone. I don't. Can't. Should wear a body cam.
Oh. Next time, wireless podcast. Shit almost went down.
All right. Come on, let's hear it for the band in the comments. I know we had a little bit of technical difficulties, but let's hear it up. Al Kutri and the Troublemakers, everybody. Here one more time.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome
Oh, we
to
made
the State of the Union Year End Extravaganza. It wouldn't be a Year End Extravaganza if we didn't have some technical difficulties in the beginning. We know you couldn't hear the opening monologue. We'll re-release it again. We had some mic issues, but you got to hear the band.
The band. That was I mean, we were back here.
No one wants to hear me talk anymore.
Jamming.
Everybody's tired of hearing me talk. So thank you so much, and welcome to the show. Basically, what the monologue said, it was taking us back to over a year ago when I was driving into an empty office on empty roads because we were locked down. And I didn't even know if we were going to get in trouble for being there. But
This was the beginning of troublemaking.
It was the beginning of troublemaking officially. And I was driving to an empty office. I thought we might even get in trouble for doing it, but thousands of people turned up for the live stream because even though we didn't know exactly what to do, we all knew that we felt better when we were together on Zoom calls across the country. You were on some, I was on some, and the energy at the end of the call was always better than the energy at the beginning. So the thought was, how can I scale that? And that's what automotive troublemaking was. That what started the automotive State of the Union events. Everybody said yes. I didn't even know half of the people that I wanted to be on the show, but people help network, people help get us there, and we had it. And here we are over a year later, and we're moving cameras because we got a lot of cameras in here. So we have some housekeeping to do.
A little bit of housekeeping.
First, I want to say
some fun things to talk about.
I think we should first and foremost make sure that anyone on the live stream, you need to go to the site and register because we have some giveaways sitting around that we're giving away, and we're actually going to issue the very, 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 very first NFT in retail automotive, and the only way to be eligible to get it, and it's free, and we'll help coach you on how to get it. If you need to be a part of this, you need to register. So go to dealerspushingback.com and just click on the register button for this event. If you've already registered, you're set. If you haven't and you're just watching this on the live stream, make sure you go ahead and do that. I think we have some people to thank.
We do. Man, we are so grateful for so many sponsors that showed up to help make this all go. But most in particularly to cars.com. They actually, around our last event, if you were there in Vegas, said to us, hey, look, we believe in what you're doing so much that we want to be a part of it, and we want to push you to do something more toward the end of this year. And so by the end of the year, we had to get something done.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. We knew we had to throw down. And that's when the extravaganza came to life. So thank you to our streaming sponsor, cars.com. And thank you to all of our other sponsors. You'll see some segment sponsors and our friends of ASOTU you saw streaming as you came in. But thank you all for helping us put this on, bring the live band, and put this all together.
So we have a few minutes. We're going to get back on schedule because we know we had a little hiccup. So we got 4 minutes. Danielle, crew here, we're going to get back on schedule. So we're going to start the next section at 12:15. So we're going to have a giveaway. Should we do the giveaway?
Just do the giveaway.
Let's do the giveaway because we need to make sure the giveaway gets had. So if you haven't registered, make sure you register because even though you're not eligible for this giveaway, you'll be eligible for the next one. So we got a great pair of Beats Solo Pros, and we're going to mail these out. We're going to write a handwritten note on these. Sean, our producer, Sean, let's hear it for Sean.
Give it up for Sean.
You might have seen Sean's work when he produced the Met Gala. Not even kidding. There he goes. He's a humble man. All right.
Giveaway number one, drum roll, please.
One is Brian Amke.
Hey,
Brian Amke, you're the winner.
You got it. They're coming to you.
Give him some love in the comments. Hit the clap button. Brian, those are coming to you. And we said it. If we forget, we just said it live, so we'll figure that back out. Listen, we need to get back to the beginning. Automotive troublemaking. This is kind of a concept that came up when we were in Vegas, but it really is the definition of what we've been doing ever since, or since this started. Troublemaking is not about breaking the law. Troublemaking is about pushing past the perceived no trespassing signs.
Yeah, I think what we've talked about is that many times when we go into any decision, right, there's always a potential wall in front of that. And the question mark is that a self-made or a man-made wall that is kind of a figment of our imagination that we decide not to step into something greater, something better, something that might challenge the status quo, right? But that if we get past that, the trouble that we've made on the other side is a world of advancement, a world of pushing an industry forward. And that's what we're really calling people to.
Yeah.
Right. It's actually a call to troublemaking.
It is.
It's not just making trouble. It's actually calling, because Paul and I can't make trouble on our own. We're definitely going to.
We're more of like we're like professional agitators.
We just stir
I
the
think
pot.
that's it. Hey, you know what? You know what he said about you? You should go get him. You should go get him. So this whole thing is about that. Troublemaking, innovation. It all started with someone saying there's a better way to do it. Yeah. Why do we have to do it that way? How come they have all the authority here when they don't have any of the expertise, or they were last year? So if you are willing and ready to make some trouble, we hope that you will do that today by joining this community, by interacting in the chat, by inviting people in here, because we have a whole long list of people that we want to introduce you to, maybe for the first time, people from inside and outside the automotive industry. And if you didn't know, it's probably a good time to mention that Kyle and I make a little trouble every morning, Monday through Friday, in the podcast world.
Yeah, it's called the Automotive
Troublemaker, right?
and by nature, right? And so it's 10 to 15 minutes of quick hits. We look at industry news, news across the world, and give you a little bit of education, a little bit of motivation too, kind of like our good friend Glenn Lundy.
It's kind of like our good friend Glenn Lundy, who you'll hear from in a little bit. So I can't stress enough. Make sure you register. Go to dealerspushingback.com and register. That's how you're going to get a lot of goodies and a lot of good things coming along. Kyle, we're about to release the first NFT. If you don't know, we're going to educate you on this. So if you don't know about it, you definitely will know about it if you register, because we're going to send all the info in an email. It's called a POAP, POAP, Proof of Attendance Protocol. And can you imagine that if you had a ticket stub verifiable that you went to events in the past, whether that's a great football game or a concert or an event like this. And so not only will you have permanent proof via an NFT that you were here and part of this community during this time, right? It will be the first ever NFT issued in retail automotive, and you can have that. And on top of that, we're probably going to show a little love to the people that have these NFTs. So think about it like this. Maybe in 6 months, we're going to look at all the OG POAP owners from this event, and maybe we're going to send something out.
Maybe a fun T-shirt.
Maybe at our next live event.
Maybe a backstage.
Exactly, right? Access
to
the next live event. So imagine this. You have this NFT and we have another live event and you get early access, or maybe you get speaker access. Maybe you get to do some of the things that everyone else doesn't. Why? Because you're an OG member of the community. And we'll probably issue more of these POAPs as we have more events. So maybe there'll be something for people to have 3 or more, 5 or more, 10 or more. So it really is an opportunity to build community. And like, we're not trying to make this show about NFTs, but look, when you're making trouble and you're doing something new, guess what? You just got to make some trouble. So we actually can talk a little bit more here. We got a little bit of time before our first guest gets here. You mentioned we have Paul Walzer. Let's talk about how the show's going to go today, so you know what to expect.
Yeah, so we've got just quick segments. We're going to do quick hits, kind of similar to the podcast, because we know we got some American culture. We got to hit it quick.
Get a little bored out there.
We're going to do 15 to 20 minute segments around this theory of troublemaking in different segments of our industry. We've got from marketers to industry leaders, dealership owners, all the way up to Paul Walzer, the chairman of the NADA. We're really excited to kind of have a conversation. And the big idea is honestly to have a conversation. And I think that's a big passion of both of ours, to kind of draw more people in, learn, hear from others. And that's what I'm just genuinely excited today, because I am excited to just learn, right? And sit under the leadership of so many people in our industry that are boots on ground, doing the things that it takes to push our industry forward.
You know, at the last event, we had a lot of thought leaders from outside automotive. And that's really been a staple from the very first Automotive State of the Union. We opened up with Dr. Nicole Lipkin, who's an organizational psychologist, and really helped us understand the stress we were going through. I think that took people by surprise. Yeah. At the last event, we started to bring in other troublemakers from outside automotive. We brought in Darren Doan and Dave Meltzer. This time we're bringing in James Orsini, the president of Sasha Group, Gary Vaynerchuk's agency. We're also bringing in Jesse Cole. Look, Jesse Cole, you need to search him. He's a man that bought and rebranded a minor league baseball team, right? Savannah Bananas. He rebranded them, and they're sold out for multiple seasons. You know why? Not because they're great baseball players. They probably are, but because they understand what it is to put on a good show and bring customer experience to the forefront of what they're doing to the back. So we're about to learn from him, because we have car dealerships. We sell people cars. That doesn't mean the experience can't and shouldn't be something worth talking about. And so we're bringing all these people in. And the last event we had, Darren Doan said something that has resonated with us, and we've talked about it a lot. He says, I don't know if you understand what you just did, but you just assumed the new center of retail automotive. And it took me a minute to absorb that for a second. And
it may have been because it was 11 o'clock at night after an event, but
West Coast time.
West Coast time. But what we started to recognize is that whenever there's a room full of people, right? And when we're talking about automotive, we're talking about a very large room. At some point, there's always the attention on something, and something is the center. And so what we are assuming is that there is a new center to automotive, and not that industry stalwarts are not there's nothing bad. There's nothing indifferent about them. It's just that there are a new set of people in the industry saying, hey, look, over the hill, there's another way. There's a hill that we have to go after, right? And we have to conquer. And assuming the center says, this is where that is. This is where that it's kind of like the rally cry, the flagpole that you put in the ground that everybody can see and run toward at that point.
It's a pivot point. So when we talk about the old guard, right? The old guard, that doesn't mean they're gone. It means that they need to also understand that the center has moved and they have just as big an opportunity as anyone else to inhabit the new center, right? So we're talking about, like OEMs, right? NADA, the people that have gotten us where we're at and deserve all the credit for doing that, right? They've helped us and given us product to sell and helped us really move forward. The dealers and the entrepreneurial mentality has taken that far beyond to another level. And then you have the industry partners who have come alongside. Now culture is changing, right? We're issuing an NFT. What is that? I bet a lot of automotive is like, that's what some of the kids do, right?
I mean, I was scratching my head 4 months ago.
Which is, if you know Kyle's technical ability, like I was just happy that I had to jump on you or something. And so, but the point is that just because the center has moved doesn't mean that anyone that was, inhabited the old center, the former center, is irrelevant. It's really a calling for them to say like, yo, come to party with your experience and your resources and your ability to build and your ability to unite.
Yes.
Come join us here. But here's the thing. It's going to take everybody to understand and clearly define what the new center is so that we can all rally around that.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's a big deal is early on. And we missed this in the video, but your rally cry was when dealers band together, no crisis can win.
That's right.
And so like when you think about banding together, we can't be like when a few dealers band together.
No.
When a couple OEMs band together, because it'll end up where culture around automotive continues to point the finger and say, see, I told you so. That's what happens when automotive tries to do something. And our new reality, our ask of the industry is for the industry to band together such that in such a way that the perception of the industry is also shifted, not just the things that we're doing, right?
What are we doing? If the retail perception of automotive doesn't change, guess what? We die. We're dead because legislation is a lot of what protects us as the franchise dealership model. Let's just face it. Legislation is a wall around this industry. And who makes legislation? Legislators. Who votes legislators in? People. How do people vote? With their feelings.
Yeah.
With their feelings. So if people have a feeling that the retail auto industry is for them and a champion of the community, and by the way, a great place to shop, because all the other stuff doesn't matter if the retail experience and buying the product is terrible.
Right.
Goes out the window.
It's interesting because like when you talk about this, there's portions of our industry that even recently have said like, hey, why does it all have to be doom and gloom? Why is it everything's going to die? Right. And we realize that's a stark statement for us to kind of call that as it is. But the reality is that even if individual dealers or single sets of people right now have a positive perception of their dealer or the industry, right? It doesn't take a long scroll on, on any news source to understand that the perception of our industry is a perception that will create death.
And together we can work to change it. I'm looking at the screen right now. I see that we're working on getting Paul Walzer in the call. I can see him on Zoom. Paul, can you hear us?
Yeah, if you can hear me.
Oh my goodness, we can hear him. And if you can see him, we got a little Christmas spirit going on in the shot.
I love it.
Well, I've got the LIFO Grinch behind me.
What is that? The what Grinch?
He's the LIFO Grinch.
The LIFO Grinch.
Lasting.
Yes.
I love it.
Oh, very much. Well, thank you for joining us today, Paul. We've actually never met in person. We've never even been on a Zoom call, so it's a pleasure to meet you. I really am appreciative that you were willing to join us today to share the community a little bit.
Happy to be here. Nice to meet you too.
Okay, so what we would like to do in the time that we have, we would just love to hear what NADA's perception is in 2022. What are you seeing? What should dealers be focusing on? And if you want to talk a little bit about the show, that would be great too. But I just want to give you the floor to share with the community the view from your seat.
Yeah. So by the way, the reason I'm calling this guy the LIFO Grinch is because dealers right now across the country are very concerned about the consequences that we're going to face at the end of the year here with respect to those dealers that are on the LIFO method of accounting with no inventory out there are going to have to recapture all the LIFO reserves on their books and have an enormous tax consequence. So NADA has petitioned the Treasury Department and working through legislators to try to get some relief on this. And so that's why I have named him LIFO.
You know what? And now that you've put a visual behind it, everybody will understand and remember it.
Yeah. So anyway, so you want me to talk about next year? Is that what you said?
Yeah. What do you think? Like, what's your charge to dealers going into Q1 next year? What should they be focusing on? And how is NADA playing a part in that?
Yeah, so I think the message is, despite all the things that have happened this year, the message is relatively constant, which is we really need, with all that is going on in our industry, we need dealers to be engaged more than ever, connected with their state, metro, and national trade associations, to be connected with their members of Congress, and to be really actively advocating for the issues that dealers are facing across the country. So that's number one. And number two, I think, again, a message that I've been sharing all year long is that the best way for us to preserve this wonderful franchise system is for dealers to really be looking for ways to improve the customer experience in partnership with the manufacturer. So how do we shorten transaction times? How do we become more transparent? How do we just generally make the experience better, let the customers take control of the process? These are the best ways that we have to make sure that this dealer franchise system is around for another 100 years, because ultimately it's the consumer that's going to determine our fate. So with all the things that are happening, direct sales initiatives and agency models and different kinds of methods that OEMs are considering, at the end of the day, the most important thing is that dealers recognize that we too have an obligation to improve and to make the customer experience really awesome.
That's amazing. I mean, there has been so much that has happened. I can't believe that the last time we were actually together was Las Vegas, the last NADA show. There's been a lot of talk, and I think a lot of hype around the fact that opening night's going to be in the Raiders Stadium. And can you just give us a little peek behind the curtain on what it looks like in the halls of NADA leading up to the next NADA show?
Yeah, so we have. I was really fortunate because the person that was assigned to be the chairman of the show committee is a dealer by the name of Scott Doobie from Massachusetts, and Scott has put his heart and soul into making what I think is going to be, or leading the effort, I should say, into what I believe will be the best show that we've ever had. Now, we don't fully understand, what the consequences of, new variants in the world of COVID are going to do. But at this point, we have the exhibit space is fully sold out, and we're getting registrations are coming in strong. And as you mentioned, this big party at Allegiant, assuming that we're going to be able to do it, is going to be really, really fun. We've got an amazing couple of bands that are going to perform, and it should just be a great celebration to reconnect and share our thoughts on this wonderful industry.
And when you say a couple of bands, you mean exactly? I'm just kidding. I know you probably can't tell us.
Well, I can't. I don't honestly know if that's public information or not, and I don't want to be the one to wreck it. But
well, that's exactly why we asked that question.
This is really high-level entertainment.
Very good. Very
Love
good. We have just a couple of minutes left here. from just, now this is from the chairman of NAD, but also from the heart of Paul, right? Long-term dealer, been someone who has been on the front lines for a lot of years. What is your personal encouragement to dealers going into next year?
Well, I'm a believer that the franchise dealer system is the best way to deliver cars to customers. Interestingly, we had a wonderful survey that was done from Escalante recently that supported the fact that even customers who have bought Teslas would prefer a traditional dealer model, and by an overwhelming margin, by the way. And so people really like the fact that they can go to a dealership, they can look at different cars to choose from, they can get financing secured, they can trade their vehicles in, they can get service there. So that's great encouragement to me that, the world of car dealerships as we know it isn't facing some kind of disaster. We just got to get better at what we're doing. But I love our future. I love this business, and I know so many do. And I've got my kids in this thing, and I know a lot of dealers do. So I think we're going to be around for a long, long time and enjoy a lot of great years ahead.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Paul and I talk about it all the time. Similarly, that this is the best possible way for us to deliver cars to people that we know and to our families and our communities. And I know the Walls organization well, and you all are entrenched into the community, and I love that. So maybe also an encouragement for dealers that want to get more into their community, but maybe are struggling how to, and how maybe you've seen that kind of grow your brand.
Well, we do a couple of things. One is, like many dealers, we have a foundation for our group that is funded by 5% of our pre-tax profits, and actually my sister runs that, and we respond to grant requests all over the Twin Cities, and so that's something we've been doing for a long time. The other thing is really, I think, getting the team members engaged in projects around town, and we do through the Women of Walser and other organizations within our group that do things like involve themselves with Habitat for Humanity and get really physically involved in participating in philanthropic events, and that really brings the team members together, and it's great outreach, and it makes people feel good, and I think it reflects well on car dealers when we do things like that.
Well, Paul, thank you so much for giving us a few minutes of your time. Thanks for bringing the Grinch. Thank you so much for being our representative from the front and making sure you're championing this industry in a way that I think we can all sit a little taller and be proud of. Best wishes to you and your family during the holidays, and look forward to making a little more trouble together in 2022.
There you go. Well, it's great to meet you guys. Thanks for including me today.
Talk to you soon. All right. Man, there's just something about when the chairman comes and he just shares a little bit of his heart, right? You're probably not used to seeing him too much,
right.
With the Grinch behind him. But, business is more meaningful when people connect on a human level.
It's like we've been saying it all along, and we really appreciate. I mean, it is there's so much mirroring in our industry and the encouragement and what everyone's moving in a similar direction, and I think that's what that segment gave me. So,
and we got to spend some time in Paul Walser's house.
So good, hanging out with the Grinch.
All right, so what we're going to be doing is you're going to be hearing, seeing a number of 1-minute segments from some of the sponsors of the show who had a lot of fun creating some special Christmas wishes for all of you. So I think we're going to roll our first one right now as we get teed up for our next segment.
Hey guys, Tim Cox from Car Now, and from the Car Now family to you, we wish you a very healthy and happy New Year. And oh, by the way, Merry Christmas. We're so excited about what has happened in 2021. We're so privileged to be a part of the Automotive State of the Union as we come together collectively to serve the automotive community, to continue to, as always, get better together. Listen, if you need anything at all, if we can serve you in any way, I want you to reach out to me personally at tim@carnow.com. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for partnering with us. Even for those that don't partner with us, If we can serve you in any way, please let us know. And here's to an amazing 2022.
Oh man, it's just so nice to see and hear from Tim Cox.
It's always good to get encouraged by Tim Cox.
So
I call him Papa Tim.
Papa Tim. We've gone from Paul Walzer's living room to Tim Cox's living room, and now next we're going to be in 3 of my favorite troublemakers, maybe living rooms. Actually, I think Darren's in his living room. I don't know. James might be in his, and we'll see. David is not in his living room. I know that.
There's no way.
So this next segment, we're going to be talking about troublemaking in business, and this is troublemaking outside automotive, right? Because actually everything in my mind is kind of automotive. The industry is everywhere in every corner of the country. So bringing in some outside perspective, right? We think in car terms, we talk in car terms. We have all kinds of
acronyms everywhere,
acronyms and vernacular that no one else would understand. But so we have 3 of my favorite troublemakers. I'm just looking at my screen. I don't know how you're seeing them, but we have Darren Doan, James Orsini, and David Meltzer. And let's just start. David, where are you? I see tiki hut grass in the back.
Yeah, I'm in Bora Bora, so I had to make my appearance. I cause a lot of trouble even when I'm in activity I don't get paid for. I always delve into activity I do get paid for while I'm in these bucket list places. But I got an ATV trip I got to get onto, but I wanted to come in here for 10 minutes because I heard Darren and James are in here. Paul, you guys, I could not miss this. So I just wanted to add anything I could real quick to cause some trouble from the other side of the world.
Love it.
I feel like we have to help him out with the. I gotta give him a backwards hat.
We'll go backwards hats for this one. Look at that. We're going backwards hat because we're making trouble. Let's see. James is wearing his NFT. James, it's been a while since we've seen each other face to face. Thank you so much for giving. So I know you all kind of know each other already. So let James, what's going on? Oh, he's got his cougar hat on.
We had a good chat in the green room, man. You guys should have recorded that.
Yeah,
there were nuggets of gold.
Just tell us about
there.
it. Tell us about it. What came out of that?
All right, well, we'll get to that in a second. Because that probably is going to end up being the topic. Last but certainly not least, the legendary Doan coming at us from probably Moscow, Idaho, if I'm correct, or are you somewhere else? I want to make sure we have your audio. See, he's in Moscow audio, which is why his internet sucks.
North Idaho, holding it down.
Holding it down in North Idaho. Okay, James, tell me a little bit about the conversation in the green room.
Yeah, it was just sparks were flying around the opportunity that the NFT world brings to commonplace order. I mean, David was talking about what the future could hold as fractional ownership in commercial real estate. Think of it like a Robin Hood model comes to the masses.
I wonder if fractional car ownership could be down the line too, via NFTs. All right. So, I mean, we could go down that rabbit hole forever. We talk about it a lot on our podcast, but I don't want to lose people. We are going to be issuing a POAP for this event. So we want to make sure that all of you get here. Actually, we should make a speaker POAP.
Let's do it.
So we're going to have an ASOTU speaker POAP. So all of you will get one to say that you were speaking at the first retail automotive event that issued an NFT for all of history. No one will ever get to say it again. Okay, so what I'd like to do is start off by asking each of you for like a 1-minute summary of what you think the current business climate is. Retail. We're thinking retail business climate. How would you summarize it? James, we'll let you go first since you're on the screen.
Yeah, I think I love when people say retail is dead. Bad retail is dead. I mean, obviously direct to consumer is part of it, but people still like an experience. I mean, my kids are scratching at the door, during this COVID environment because they want to be out and about. They want to be touching product. They want to be seeing stuff. So we were fortunate in that a majority of our shopping had been done direct to consumer, but just having a good retail experience, and I think that's what we have to think about. What does that look like in the future? It certainly looks different than stodgy anchor stores in malls. I remember a great a Nike store down in Soho where if you're trying basketball shoes on, you are shooting baskets in a hard court to determine whether or not those shoes are right for you. And if you're buying running shoes, you're on a treadmill or elliptical right there in the retail experience. So just having more of that, I think, is going to be good for us.
Thank you, Dave. We're going to bounce over to you. because I know you got an ATV running outside your hut there. What is your perspective is actually a little bit broader because you work with a lot of influencers, you work with a lot of athletes. So your perspective might be a little bit of a different angle. So what do you think? Give us a summary on what you think the retail business climate is now.
Yeah, I think the problem is people look at retail business as James was suggesting in the wrong way. Demand is high, right? There's more money out there than ever. There's more purchasers out there. There's more consumption out there. So it's retail. My perspective is great. I mean, I've been around a long time. There's more money out there. I got 3 daughters, for example, and a wife. They are the GMP's dream girls. These guys are buying all kinds of shit. So you have to get creative to go ahead and capture that audience because the money has never been in a greater flow than it is today. We just sunk trillions of dollars into the economy from every level, from the low income to mid to high. So the real focus should be on is how do I provide to the demand that exists, not is there a good retail climate right now. It's how do I provide, because we have a lot of challenges in getting the products. How do we distribute the products, deliver the products? And that's where our focus should be. But I think, man, am I optimistic? I'm a toptimist when it comes to retail. And those that understand, there'll be a third who understand it, a third that stays the same, and a third that will get killed. That's the way it usually works out. And remember, 99% of all my statistics are made up. So please take that very.
Well, I would say a third are the troublemakers. And speaking of troublemakers, Darren, I'm going to twist this question a little bit because you've been a part of brand building for all kinds of brands, all the way up doing OEM work for Toyota, Yamaha. You're working with major label artists. So some of your more recent stuff where you're not actually selling a product, you're selling a belief with the New Earth Project. So what is your perspective on the opportunity for any company to build a brand through like what would traditionally seem like a retail channel?
How's the reception going? Can you guys hear me?
You sound
up
great.
here in North
Good.
Idaho?
Yeah,
Good.
you sound great.
They still running 9,600 baud modems in Idaho?
No, he's got a satellite dish now. He's running Starlink, aren't you?
I have Starlink in the other. I have Starlink in the other spot.
I'm in goddamn Bora Bora, and my connection's better than that shit. Come on.
Oh, how appropriate that Darren freezes.
No, dude, believe me.
Okay.
It's an issue.
We're all going to stay very still so that we don't chew up any of your bandwidth. Uh-oh, now Darren's staying very still. Okay, Darren, show's yours.
I'll give this a shot if it's still going.
It's all you. You're good. Go for it. Oh man.
And we'll let James talk, and I'll boost my reception here.
Okay, I don't know how you boost your reception, but Darren's gonna figure that out. James. Oh, he's going to trust somebody else.
Yeah.
All right, so
5G.
So with that being said, both of you said there's a lot of money to be spent out there. And, I, for one, have in my perception of the retail industry, like even with automotive, people are paying more for cars than ever, right? It's not like they're scraping the bottom of the barrel, right? People aren't scraping to try to come up with it. So, James, when you're talking about how you advise a lot of small, medium-sized business and a lot of large companies, you see in a window into them. What's their strategy moving forward? Like, how are they approaching?
Well, we've been actually telling them to raise prices. I mean, when they're selling out, we're like, listen, that's probably not a good thing. Let's raise the prices so you don't sell out. We were representing a blueberry company out of New Jersey, and their prices are twice what you can get a blueberry for. Now you got to have a compelling story and reason for why somebody would pay more for that product. And I think that's what it comes down to. It comes down to the strategic storytelling for, why is my product twice as much as something else that you could buy on the shelf? And you better have that story and that content, codified so your consumer understands it and is willing to pay the premium for it.
Mm-hmm. David, any commentary on that?
Yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity not in just raising prices, but wait lists. I think building your audience and community for the future, even if they don't take the transaction at a later date because they may have already spent the money or purchased a competitor, there's a huge opportunity to gain data by having wait lists for your product if there is that high of a demand. And so creating a content community that you can keep on feeding, not just that products, other partners, et cetera, is a huge opportunity. You saw that in your industry with the Ford Lightning. I can't even imagine how many hundreds of thousands of people are on their $100 wait list, but they're getting their credit cards, they're getting their location, they're getting their interest, their demographic, and that's going to be more valuable than selling a car. And there's hundreds of thousands of those people that they never were able to get to before. So I think there's a huge opportunity with waitlist community beyond. Definitely always raise the price when the demand's high. That's basic economics, which James does so well, and is just an amazing attribute to tons of companies to teach them the basics. Because as James and I will tell you, and Darren, hopefully his bandwidth can hear us, it's amazing how big corporations don't know the basics, just like big investors don't know the basics. That's how a guy like me in 2008 lost over $100 million. I was financially illiterate, went to business school, law school, top of my class, running a sports agency that everybody knew of in the world, yet I was financially illiterate. So know the basics. I'm going to have to jump now that the A team's back.
All right.
Thank you guys so much. I'm going ATVing with my family.
Have fun.
Nice.
Enjoy the view.
Thanks
Enjoy,
for being here,
David.
Thanks, David.
I love you guys. Keep in touch. Have a great Christmas. Thanks for allowing me to cause some trouble.
Ciao,
Love you,
man.
brother. Have fun.
Take care, guys.
All
Here,
right.
Paul,
Okay,
if
good.
you can
Darren,
hear
tag.
me
It's
now,
like a
I-
wrestling match.
That's something.
Tag team. Darren's in his bedroom now. Go.
Okay, well, one of my clients is Atlantic Packaging. They're the largest privately held packaging company in North America, almost $1 billion company. And something that I'm excited about is the way they're connecting the retail experience through packaging. When you get a package now, that is an extension of the retail experience.
Absolutely.
And so what people are experiencing when they open that box, do they want to see a lot of, single-use plastic? Do they want to see things that they don't think are environmentally friendly? That experience now with that box is connecting to retail. Historically, we've never seen the package that shows up as a true extension of retail. And I think you're going to see that being a big play all through 2022.
That's an interesting perspective because people are more than ever paying attention to what's in the box, right?
Yeah.
From a reusability standpoint.
Yeah. And I think
100%.
The merger of every aspect of business, whether it be the purchase or the pre-purchase experience, and I loved, James, you were kind of tying in this like content and experience pre-purchase, brand build, why buy. And earlier you said, the experience in the retail experience, right? And Darren was just pointing to the delivery experience, that there's actually like the fluidity between all of them. So especially like, how are you encouraging brands to pay attention to all of them and not just one segment of it, right?
Well, commending the brands when they do. I had a wonderful customer experience for AT&T recently. I bought a new iPhone and they sent somebody to my house to set it up in my kitchen. Like doorbell rings and that's their customer service now. We're gonna, James, you ordered 5 of these for your family. Well, we send somebody to your house and we're setting that up. So don't worry about the nuances of pushing stuff to the cloud, downloading it to your phone. We will do it in your own home. So that's some of the beauty of what came out of this COVID experience, is that there was better customer service, cleaner, speedier, curbside service. Those things are not going to go away. Regardless of what happens here, because now, customers got used to a better service experience, and I think that's going to be around for a while. The reminders of, hey, we think you might be running out of this particular product, so let us know if you want to order it again. You ordered this, but you might want to think of that. They kind of go together. So we've been having great direct to consumer experience, and it's putting pressure on retailers to get better when you have me as a captive audience in your store.
I think this is a great example to draw a thread. We have 2 minutes left. The thread drawing between the two that I'm seeing form up is that, James, you're talking about the experience of the product and a very long-standing established company realizing that we need to change the way we do things to deliver an experience. Darren, on the other side, is dealing with a packaging company that no one ever thinks of. It was usually thought of like as an expense, as a throwaway. But what Darren's saying is now working with a packaging company is attaching meaning to the packaging that now means something to consumer, because now it becomes a part of the brand's belief system, right? And all of those things are coming together.
We're building and we're building that brand within the packaging. So what we've done with Atlantic Packaging, like, you know, we're making sure that that in itself is a brand where when they get that package, it's New Earth approved. So our brand is called New Earth, and New Earth is, when they open it, that's what we're building now, that everything in there is sustainable. Everything is a paper product that should end up in the 60s. And so we're building that now. Is that package New Earth approved? And so that's handing everything, you know, took the James and Vayner and Sasha. It's like, right down to that package. Can you build a brand? And the answer is yes, with everything you see there. And what we're doing is we want to be the JD Power of packaging for them, for that client. Is it New Earth approved? Or can New Earth through Atlantic Packaging bring you packaging solutions to help you? Can we help with an audit? I mean, all that's brand, and it's a completely new vertical for them. Never would I ever have thought of even doing that for a client, you know, had it not been for Vayner and for Sasha and for what we see here. So I owe a ton to this guy right here.
Oh, that's amazing. All right, so we got a little less than 2 minutes left. I would love to hear your perspective on the automotive industry, and what would you encourage auto dealers to do? Again, very old established industry, slow to turn, but there are a lot of people paying attention and making trouble. So if you're saying one thing to them and one encouragement to them heading into 22, what's it going to be? Maybe take 30 seconds. We'll start with Darren and with James.
Darren, I think you're
Complete everything. Just more gatekeepers. You don't need anyone. You don't even need the top, auto companies to send you footage or clips or video. Go make all your own content, work at your own speed, and keep it regional to where you're selling cars. Let your brand be regional, local.
All right. Thank you very much, James Orsini.
Yeah, for me, it's all about the customer experience. Make me want to spend that extra money. If you're Mercedes-Benz, you better differentiate yourself in the space, because we're finding. I've been getting great customer experience from cars that I'm spending half the amount of money than I used to on Mercedes and BMW. So for me, it's a painful process. Treat me right, help me get through it, navigate my way through it.
James, Darren, thank you so much for just taking a little time out of a holiday week, spending it here with us in the automotive industry. This is just the beginning of our troublemaking. Just blessings to you and your families, and can't wait to make some more trouble next year.
Thanks, guys.
Good to see you, Paul, Brett.
All right. So I love talking about outside the industry and getting that perspective in, because it's all mashing together.
You know what I love is there's a lot of things that we've already, as the industry, leaned into, and a lot of the troublemakers that we know that we're probably going to hear from in just a minute have leaned into from a customer experience or a brand or a content perspective. But there's a lot that we can learn from that segment. And so even if you're doing some of those things, take out the things that maybe that you haven't thought of yet, or that you can push the envelope on, because those guys are really pushing the envelope in their respective industries.
No doubt. All right. I think we have another segment for you, some more well wishes from one of our sponsors and one of the teams that serves this industry tirelessly. So let's roll that.
Hey everybody, Damon Lester from Automotive 5. On behalf of the entire Fiverr team here in Scottsdale, Automotive State of the Union, disruptors. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year from the disruptors of traditional training, the folks trying to bring accountability, newness, and fun to play. I'm Lundy.
We are so excited to be one of the troublemakers, and we can't wait to make some trouble next year in 2022.
Thanks everybody, see you soon.
Oh man, thank you so much to the team at Quantum 5 and for the laughs at the front and the back. And speaking of laughs, I wish we had our trigger button. If the podcast people knew, they know we've got the segue deal. But I am pleased to introduce you to two of my good friends. First, we have Erikka, Tiffany Wells. We're going to be talking about troublemaking on the sales floor, and Brian Kramer. And as luck would have it, Brian Kramer, if we can throw him up on the screen, has a Christmas to remember. Is that Elf playing in the background?
That is. I'm going full theme.
He's going
my
full
branding.
theme.
I'm staying true to form.
Oh my gosh, he's literally got the movie Elf playing.
It's literally playing. I'm gonna be distracted here in just a minute and start watching. Yep, there's the pop. There we go. Well, welcome, Brian. I'm really excited to have you, and just wanted to give you a minute to kind of tell people where you're from, what you're doing, and what tell them your favorite part of Elf that we're watching in the back real quick for me, because I know you have a favorite.
So, yes, my favorite part of Elf, just to get that out of the way, is when he jumps on the Christmas tree and takes that out of excitement. When he's bouncing over the couch, and I don't know why, but that's my favorite part. But I'm down here in Naples, Florida. We're trying to hold our own, and it's a little bit hot down here. But as I'm looking on the showroom floor, it's busy. It's a great time to be in the car business, and it's a great time to be making trouble in the most disruptive time in the history of the auto industry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thanks. And we've also got Erikka Tiffany Wells, co-founder of Wocan and a sales manager at Volkswagen of Marion. Is that right? Did I get that right? I believe so.
I messed it up last time.
See, he messed it up on a clubhouse room. But hey, we are so excited to have you here. And you know what? I want to start off this session just kind of asking you, earlier when we were in Vegas, you had this statement that we all kind of clung to, which was people is the new currency. And I've really seen you over the last few months, and even especially recently, really lean into that where you are at and leaning into your sales team. And if people didn't see it, they can go to your LinkedIn, they can go to your Facebook, I think, and see you making soup for your team. Can you explain a little bit about what that was about and how you were leaning into your sales floors as far as what they need to be for your customers?
Absolutely. So I was talking to the sales team because, it started getting closer to the holidays and things kind of got a little bit slower as far as leads and appointments, and everybody was around here bummed. And I said, guys, we got to make something out of nothing, right? We got to find the opportunity to make stone soup. And the idea behind stone soup is that there's a guy in a village and he's going through a town and these villagers weren't sharing their food, and he knocks on a door and he takes a stone and he starts to make the soup, right? He's building off this soup and he says, hey, all I need is a stone and some hot water. And he says, I just need a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And soon all the villagers started bringing their ingredients into the stone soup. And we actually created broth for everybody, and the whole village ate. And I just wanted my team to understand that sometimes you have to have the vision of possibility. You have to believe something that's not there and see what's not there and create it. And as a manager and as a leader, it's important for us to create that vision and to create that segue so that our salespeople can stay focused. There's so many distractions. There's a lot of things going on. We're having an amazing time in the automotive industry, but we also need to prepare for the future, and we need to make sure that they are ready for what's to come. And so I wanted to make sure that they had something different for this Saturday meeting.
Yeah, it's super fun. So yeah, if you didn't see that, go check it out because it was recorded. But so explain to me when you are thinking about this and in a time right now where kind of the sun is shining and everything's going well from a sales experience perspective, and we haven't been in a time of abundance, right? What does it look like for you to kind of, if there is not much there that you're seeing, that you're having to draw from these things, what are you leading to? What are you pointing your people to that you're having to create something new for, right? And a new sales floor, a new engagement, a new customer experience. What are you gathering together in your sales team saying, hey, this is what we've got to look at to create a new soup for our customers or for our experience for our sales team?
For me right now, it's all about an emotional intelligence. I want my sales team to think of their customers completely different than they have ever. I want them to listen with more intent. I want them to have empathy and understanding. I think it's so many times we allow things to get so transactional. And as the automotive industry moves into digital retailing, I think that transactional part of things can become even more apparent. And it's going to be the dealerships that understand relationships and understand their people and understand to be able to create that communication that are going to be able to succeed. Because if you think about the future of it, it's going to become more app-like, more robotic, right? And the dealerships that allow the presence of human beings to be there and to create a relationship with the client are going to have that kind of advantage, I think, into the industry. I want my sales team to listen with a different ear, to see with a different eye. And those are the training processes that we go into now, is that we're looking at every lead. And I said, hey, I know it feels easy right now, but please, 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 don't be confused that this is not exactly what it's going to look like 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. And that I agree with you guys. There's going to be a hit. There's going to be a change in this industry, and we need to be prepared for that.
Well, and so to turn to Brian, you've been kind of preparing, especially from a technology and marketing side over the last 4 years, for events like this, for times like this, and moving your whole team, especially from a sales perspective, from a variable ops perspective, into a whole new way of doing business. So walk us through like what that has looked like, and then what is that positioning you for as you head into 2022?
So it's obviously now the technology's been connected, which is a whole different conversation. But once you get the technology connected, Google has a study that's called the messy middle, and they do a great job of talking about guiding an elephant. And they said that in the case of this example, imagine a path, if you can visualize it, and your process is the rider and the elephant is the customer. You're not going to push an elephant. It's too big. It's not going to do something that it doesn't want to do. It might move for a second, but it has to, you want it to move forward. In order to get it to move forward, you've got to remove obstacles. You've got to give clear direction. You've got to reduce mental fatigue so that it doesn't choose to go its own direction. There's enough distractions right now with price and payments and rates and money down and all this, addendums and supply issues and all this other stuff. And in 2022, we're not just going to do it in sales, but we're super excited about doing it in service. And there's so many parallels with the way that we advertise in service and the way that we advertise in sales. But I think it's a lot of just reducing the obstacles, leveraging automation just to reduce redundant tasks. And a lot of associates look at leveraging automation as, are you getting rid of my job, or what does this mean? So over communicating all of that, and make sure that the journey's going downhill. If you just clear the path of obstacles, like in that elephant analogy, if the process is the rider, the process should just ride the elephant downhill. And the way to go downhill is to remove obstacles, remove friction, and we're obsessed with it. We're obsessed with, setting an appointment, from service online, setting an appointment from sales online. How far can they go? Can they go straight through? And every single time there's a roadblock, you got to attack it. And that's all that we're doing is, trying to take dynamite and blow up all the friction obstacles. The customers now upload their driver's license, they upload their insurance, they do half of their appraisal, they fill out their credit applications, and they're doing so much of the work to allow the associates to be able to have that much more throughput. The goal is to do the same thing with service. But if you want to, you got to give clear direction, not just to your associates, but to the customer as to where you're going. You've got to reduce the mental fatigue. You've got to make the process of purchasing easier. Your marketing has to be aligned towards making it easier. And the more that we try to do coupons and discounts and, $19 oil changes or $99 payments, we're getting further away from that. And it creates confusion, which is the opposite of clarity. So that's our primary focus.
On that note, talking about the processes, talking about the mentalities, the sales team, the people that you need to power a great sales department, the sales department, not just of today, but of the future. I think this is, I'd love to hear from both of you on this. What are you looking for? What are you hiring for? And how are you cultivating the talent that's going to succeed in 2022 and beyond? Actually, I should probably call on someone. Erikka, why don't you take it first, and we'll bounce back to Brian. Sorry about that.
Sure. More than anything, I'm looking for people that are hungry. I say it all the time that you can't teach hunger. When you find people that are hungry, and I think back to my own, beginning in automotive, and I was making $6 an hour as a daycare teacher. I was not what you would say is the automotive professional of the future, but I was hungry. I had a family to feed. I had young kids, and I was just trying to figure out how to make a way. And when you find people are hungry and they're at the very edge of kind of this opportunity, say, I want more. We're able to take that talent and develop it. I'm not necessarily looking for the old school sales guy that's stuck in his ways. I want someone who's going to be an innovator and open-minded that I can coach and that I can train, because we're looking for fresh talent. We're looking for people who are going to help change this industry and turn it on its heels. And I need new people to come to the table and sit into these conversations and say, how can we do things different? And the only way you can do that if you have people with a different mentality and a different mindset. So I'm looking for passion. I'm looking for people with purpose. I'm looking for those who are open-minded. To me, everything else is coachable and trainable, right? Everything else I can show you. The systems and the tools, you're going to make it easy to do it yourself. But if I can't find leaders, and if I can't find people who are passionate and empathetic and open-minded and good listeners, then I'm not going to be able to keep them moving and keep them growing into the people that we need.
Very nice, thank you.
Brian. So I'm 1,000 miles away from Erikka, but our culture is very much what she just described. We want people with a motor. We want people that are proactive, people that want to hustle, people that are passionate, people that care. And that's the number one, experience is great if they are part of an organization that they disagree with, what they're doing or what the culture stands for, and they want to be a part of something different. They want to be a part of something innovative, and they want to be a part of that change. Then we welcome the experience. But if it's experience that they don't want to let go of, and they don't want to let go of their grip on the way that things used to be, and have one foot in the past when we need two, a foot in the present and one in the future, then that's not something that we're interested in. But they've also got to be solution seekers. We don't need anybody. We already know all the reasons why things aren't going to happen. We can just ask the customer. We don't need anybody else to tell us that. The customer is going to tell us every single day on the surveys. We need people that are going to, I really pride myself on our team's ability that when they identify a problem, they always follow up with a solution or two solutions that are proposed. At least they start cognitively thinking about how to fix the problem, instead of, because it's a very bad thing in our organization just to talk about the problems. That's blaming, complaining, defending. It's not something that we don't do. But if they talk about that and they say, here's two ways to fix it, which way do you want to go with? That's a whole different conversation.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And I think, that having an organization that the culture is that when you come in here, you have a voice, not just for the problem, but for the solution, right? And I heard Erikka, I heard you kind of say that, like, I need people that are going to come in and immediately make an impact, whether it be at a management level or at a, at any level of the organization, that's the idea. So how are you enabling your people to do that, to not just be managers that lead with solutions, but be whether it be the porter or the receptionist or the newest sales hire? What's the enablement process to giving your people a clear path for that feedback?
There's two things that I do. One, we have a steering committee, and I think that it's important to, as you said, hear the voices. So many times the sales meeting just becomes the salespeople and maybe the finance managers. But as we're kind of pivoting, so to speak, in this new age of the automotive industry, every part of the business is affected, right? Our service department is getting more used cars than ever before. My detail department is getting in faster trades quicker before they can even get them cleaned up and through the back. My customers are coming in seeing fresh trades that have only been on the lot for 24 hours, and they're full of the customer's still old stuff, right? There's this new environment, and if we keep thinking that we're just going to have a sales meeting and that's going to fix the process, we're not. These people have ideas. You'll find some of your best ideas are from the lady in finance, from the receptionist, from the porter, from different pieces in the team that obviously don't often get a voice. So when you create the steering committee and you bring these relationships to allow those people to have a voice, and you empower them and you say, tell me how we can make it better. Here is the solution to the problem, as what Brian said. It's absolutely right. But a lot of these people, they quiet their voice down. They don't say anything because we never talk to them. Right? We pat them on the back, we say good job, we say good morning, but we don't ask them their thoughts. We don't ask their opinions. We don't ask how can I make your life easier, your job easier? And in turn, that usually makes the entire dealership better. So we need to be able to make sure that we're listening to all different segments and pick somebody from each department and say, hey, you're going to be the voice of the department this week, and you're going to come in and we're going to have a conversation about the lot or about trades or about, hey, why it's getting backed up in service or getting backed up in detail. And we're going to come up with solutions, and you're going to let those people fix the problems. And then what happens? You have empowered people who make good decisions that reflect the culture of the team. You know, I've seen salespeople who let little small problems become a big issue with their customers, something that probably cost the dealership $50. But again, because of this resistance and because of this attitude that we've trained them that, oh, we're not giving anybody anything away, and, you know, tell them to get out of here with that. We're creating the reputation that we deserve because we won't allow ourselves to empower our people to make good choices that are going to benefit the dealership as a whole.
And a lot of times the reason why they don't want to give up the $50 whatever floor mats or whatever is because the other processes aren't tight. And if your processes aren't tight on 99% of your stuff, then you can't afford to just handle the customer and just take care of the problem and empower and enable, you know, because it takes time. It takes time to have empowerment guidelines and to, you know, clarify exactly what they're empowered to do, where their cutoff is, and what they, you know, what the time frame is. Do they need to get a WIO signed? Can they just handle it on the spot and then get the WIO signed later? Or do they need to go track down a manager and take 5-10 minutes to go through the whole questioning process to then get a signature? By then the customer's like, you know what, I'm done. And you end up in the same destination anyway. Empowerment doesn't mean that you're just going to give away and it's a, you know, it's a not-for-profit situation. You're going to give away, you know, all your money. It just means that the cadence or the sequence in which you're doing that or resolving issues is able to be modified and be agile.
That's awesome. Hey, before we wrap up, I just want to give, because a lot of times we talk to the leadership, the higher level of our organization when we get on these Zoom calls. I'd love for each of you, and we'll start with Erikka, to just give an encouragement to the salesperson that might be listening. To that, maybe they've just gotten in our industry or they've been in it for a long time, but to the salesperson, speak to them, not to their manager, not to the dealership owner, but what's your encouragement to them in 2022?
This is your year. You have every opportunity to be a part of this amazing industry. And even though right now you may not be able to see the future and you may not feel with all the uncertainty that you have a place, I want you to know that there is such a supportive infrastructure out here of leaders and innovators who, even if you're not in the right place as of right now, there's a dealership that could be the right fit for you. I left the dealership that I had been at for quite some time and came 683 miles away to start at a new dealership because they aligned with the values of who I am as a person. And I didn't think that a dealership existed like that. One that had put their family first, one where they didn't require the sales managers and salespeople to work 12-hour days, a place where it was innovative and progressive and they cared about their people. I didn't know if that existed. I believed it did and I prayed for it. And then boom, like that, it happened, it hit. So I want you to know that just stick with it. This industry is absolutely amazing. What you're looking for is out there and it will come. And you just need to stay prudent, stay disciplined, learn all you can, get involved with social media, get involved with these amazing people, connect the dots, get on Clubhouse because there's so much out there for you and your best and brightest days are still ahead.
Awesome. And Brian, to the salesperson.
I would say to find to touch on what Erikka was just saying, is you got to find the right mentor. It's more important. So many people get caught up in the money and they get caught up into the next 30-day sprint and the next 60 days. And then what's this going to look like this? If somebody else has a better pay plan, better this, you got to play the long game and you've got to hook up with somebody that's going to invest in you and somebody's going to take time to develop you, because we're going in uncharted waters, not that we haven't been already, but it's going to be even more disruptive and chaotic over the next 2 or 3 years. You want to make sure that your wagon's hitched up to the right leader that's going to help navigate you through all this and make sure that they're developing you along the way. They're not just telling you what to do, but they're telling you why they're doing it.
Awesome. Well, Brian, Erikka, thank you so much for joining us on the segment. I was encouraged. And also, I think that we've got bright days ahead with leaders like you in our industry, pushing the industry forward. So thanks for coming. You know, Paul, I wrote down one thing during that. And again, Erikka, drop in knowledge, right? She said, you create the reputation you deserve. Oh. And I think that we can take that either way. A lot might hear that as a negative possibility, but I think it's a big opportunity to actually create the reputation that you want, right? And so I think that's what we encourage you after this session. We are going to move to another one of our wonderful partners in our industry, one of the groups that are moving us forward, and we're going to roll to that mid-roll right now. So go ahead and let's go.
From all of us at PCG Digital, we want to wish you and your families a very happy holiday season. What a great year it was. Our clients are looking forward to a stellar 2022 and beyond. Shouldn't you feel this way as well? If you didn't have the year that you had hoped and are looking for new partners to help you stand out in your market, generate more sales opportunities, then let's make sure Santa leaves you a great gift of PCG digital goodness under your tree. Let our team of experts help guide your dealership's marketing strategy in a more efficient and effective way. We look forward to serving you. May you and yours have a fantastic and blessed New Year's, and we look forward to hearing from you.
Now, look, everybody knows that was Glenn. Whoa, everybody knows that was Glenn Pasch because his voice is so recognizable. This next segment, I'm super excited with. Stay tuned because we're doing our next giveaway after this segment. This is Troublemaking with the Insiders, we called it. Jim, Alan, Brian, thank you so much for joining us today. The reason we call it Troublemaking with the Insiders is because my assumption is that between the three of you, you probably have had more collective insiders conversation because people trust you. Dealers trust you when the lights go off and the mics go off. You are next to people through some significant times in their businesses and their lives. So, Jim, you're at the center point of news in the industry. Alan, you're walking with dealers through some of their probably most stressful moments, representing sell side of automotive. And Brian, people just tell you all their secrets because they know they can trust you. So we're going to try to squeeze a few out of you today. So gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today. What I would like to do is just start off and give each of you, 30 to 60 seconds to, number one, just say hello, but also tell us what you're looking for in Q1 of 2022. Give us the inside scoop.
Jim, we'll go with you.
Should we start with myself?
You know what? That was really
so. Hello, everyone. I'm Jim Fitzpatrick with CBT News, and as far as the new year, I think we're going to take a lot. There's a lot to take away from 20 and 21 into 2022. Specifically, how are we dealing with this chip shortage, and what does it mean for the future? They say fix the roof when it's not raining and the sun is shining. I think that applies right now. I think there's a lot of things that we need to pay attention to in retail automotive, specifically in the first quarter. The retail automotive segment is somewhat under attack right now, and we really need to get it right as these inventory levels start to come back in to lots and showrooms. We can't, rely on the fact that we're going to get maybe 20 cars to sell this week and every single one of them is going to roll out at sticker price. That will change. So what are we doing today in Q1 in 2022 to ensure that the profitability is going to be there by the end of the year? And there's a lot to unpack there, obviously. Sure. And a lot of those areas begin with marketing. So that's, Brian can tell you more about that. And obviously, in terms of the M&A activity, it's just incredible. 575 rooftops changed hands this past year. And some say, we were just talking about that, it might be more in 2022. So it's a very exciting time to be in retail automotive.
I love it, Kyle. We're always hearing you refer to probably the conversation you had right before you came on. So in the green room. So with that being said, great segue. Leave it to Jim to give us a nice segue teed up. Alan, what are you looking at 2022 and what is the insider's temperature on the M&A space?
Well, it hasn't slowed down. The chip demic is still with us, as Jim pointed out, and that's leading to record high profits for dealerships and in some ways record high demand from buyers of dealerships. So we track every month profits per store as it comes out from NADA. And in November, it went up again, another $200,000 compared to the same month last year. So dealers are still making more money than they've ever made before. And we still have some aggressive buyers out there. So our belief is at least the first half of next year, it's going to be every bit as good as it was the second half of 2021. And certainly we hope the good times will continue for dealers. As Jim mentioned, there are some signs out there that the best may be with us right now, right? Gas prices are higher, interest rates are going up. We have some new entrants out there like Rivian, Tesla, Lucid, Carvana, and others that are starting to take some share from franchise dealers. So I think that it's almost like, we're enjoying this rain of money on our dealer friends. But we do hope that dealers have developed some new skills during the pandemic, whether it means sourcing used cars or focusing more on F&I, focusing more on digital retailing. I'm hoping Brian will talk about that a little bit so that when we get out of the chip demic and we're back to working hard to sell cars, the dealers will be able to sustain some of these high profits that they've been enjoying the last 18 months.
I love this. That the current guest is just teeing up the next guest. I don't even have to do any work as the host. I'm just going to sip my water.
They're all just so good.
Hey, by the way, I'm not
hosts.
seeing any Christmas spirit in that attire you guys are wearing. I thought we were I wear my wife's homemade sweater here. You guys look like you're the Blues Brothers over there right now.
Like, well, listen, Alan, have you ever seen me in a tie?
That's true, but okay. Is that Christmas attire for you?
I guess it is. I guess it is. We got a Christmas tree. I love it. Call us out anytime. We have a Christmas tree and garland, but let's pass the buck. Brian, I don't see any Christmas spirit in your background at all.
Oh, hold on. Let me just get my Christmas spirit now.
Okay, well,
I'm just like the two of you.
Black is the new garland. So
it is great to be here. As founder of PCG Digital for the last 16 years, we've had amazing kind of viewport on what dealers are going through, hosting 2 annual conferences and being on CBT News. Obviously, there's a lot of insights we get from the dealer community. For 2022, I want to focus on 2 primary things. Number 1 is to try to be a liaison between the OEMs and the digital retailing vendors. We are at an important crossroads. 2 of the OEMs have decided to do a single point of solution, force it down the dealers' mouths, and that would be obviously Nissan and Stellantis, and others are considering open programs. But what we really need is more of a data lake approach where multiple DR companies that can provide OEM compliant look and feel can use the same data set to allow penny perfect transactions at tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. I think recently there was an article by an author in Jalopnik that just ripped up the Nissan at home experience. And basically, I'm not sure why, but in this particular case, there seems to be a line drawn in the sand where no common sense. Sometimes you have to say, follow the money and it will make sense. But digital retailing has to be a cooperative effort between OEMs and dealers. It's not like that for some. And the second thing, as dealer groups are rolling up, we need to really rethink the metrics of measurement of performance. And we will be working hopefully in 2022 with more dealer groups that are growing to create a updated benchmark of KPIs. Many of the 20 group reports are completely outdated. They're still talking about bounce rate and time on site and other metrics. And so I think as an industry, we need a whole new set of performance metrics that will allow dealer groups that have multiple website providers, multiple DR tools, multiple advertising partners, because OEM mandates still could have a consistent data set. And those are the 2 things I want to work on next year.
You know, the common thread I see in a lot of this is that there is a seismic shift and there is a cry or a call for another generation, right? The next generation to really step up and take their position. Alan, you're probably front and center in a lot of situations where there isn't another generation to come up and take the torch, which probably leads a lot of people to your front door. What's your perspective on the budding next generation? Because you certainly have a lot of exposure to it.
I think that the run-up in dealership prices caused a lot of families to reconsider their succession plans. You know, that the average dealership is, blue sky is probably 60, 70% higher than it was pre-pandemic. And so for a lot of the children of the founding dealers or, you know, the second generation, I think they began to ask themselves, is this really what I want to do with the rest of my life? You know, do I want to be a car dealer? Do I want to compete with bigger, better capitalized firms that have a better advertising reach, have more money to build the facilities? Or do I want to work with my family, liquidate the business and redeploy that capital in other industries that's more diversified? And so we have seen people who literally were buyers in the first half of 2021 call us in the second half of 2021 and say, I'm out. I'd like to retain you all to move forward and sell my business. So I think that, you know, that phrase get big or get out is resonating louder on industry. It's not a rapid consolidation, I mean, I started in the business in 1996 with AutoNation, and we bought a lot of stores, but there's 17,000 rooftops out there. So it's going to take a while. But I think this slow and steady consolidation will continue and probably accelerate a little bit, partly because of digital retailing, partly because of some of these new entrants that are future risks. But when you can offset those risks with record high prices today, a lot of the second and third generations are just saying, Mom, Dad, I don't want to live the lives that you led. Let's sell this and redeploy the capital now.
Interesting. Jim, you get to sit down and speak with a lot of the best and brightest across the industry, live and on site and on your show. What is your perspective of the ones who are saying we want to stay, we want to fight for this industry because we believe in it?
I think that to pick up on what Alan was saying, I think that they've got to look at their operations completely different. They've got to grow. I interviewed a couple of people from Cox Automotive, and Dale Pollack was one of them. And he said, I think dealers today have to look at either being an acquirer or an acquiree. And I think that the future is going to be tough for some of those mom and pop. Maybe it's a one location or one store, Ford store or Toyota store. But I think it's going to be increasingly more difficult for those people to play in this space, because I think the future does belong to the big auto groups that are out there. They can afford to do things that the smaller groups just can't afford to do. Now, coming out of this year in 2022, where they've got, or 2021 rather, where they've got a pocket full of money. The average dealer in 2019 made $1 million. Now it looks like they're making upwards of $3 million. But as we all know, that's not sustainable. So they have to put their store in order and put it together to make sure that it is going to be sustainable in the future. But I would question, whether or not, to Alan's point, they should take a really good look at letting that store go right now if they don't have the heart and the guts for it. Because I think over the course of the next 4 or 5, 10 years, it's going to be really difficult for that family-run store. Especially, we haven't even touched on the EV revolution that's headed our way, that may affect fixed ops, that may affect the way people buy cars and use their transportation. So I think there's a lot out there. And I think, to your point, there's a lot of companies out there, big publicly traded companies, as well as large family groups that have got 30, 40, 50 stores in their group that are gobbling up some of these smaller dealerships, and rightfully so, because they know that it's going to take that to really succeed in the future in the retail automotive space.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of lean on Brian based on what he said earlier and what both you, Alan, and Jim are speaking about in this, the difference between the capacity of the single rooftop or the group. And Brian, earlier you were saying we've got to lean on APIs or data warehousing or, DR solutions across the group. And, I've talked to some single rooftops it's a word that they know because they're hearing it from everybody, but the ability to execute on some things like that or push back on the OEM from a group level size where maybe I've got a Toyota and a Ford store and I've got to figure out, which digital retailing platform or showroom retailing platform that I've got to use. What's the lean in on maybe especially some of those smaller groups or single rooftops when they're talking about APIs, data warehouses, GA4s coming out? What are you seeing from that perspective?
Sure. The future for the smaller auto dealers and auto groups is they have to develop a data-centric culture. The value of the dealership or the blue sky, I think, is going to be increasingly built on the cleanliness of their data, their utilization of first-party data, their customer database, and how well they can maximize that lifetime value of their customers. So small dealer groups who in the past maybe hired their niece or nephew to run social media or their friend to run Google ads because they're a local agency but no automotive experience, I think they have to really rely on experts. At our agency, I have people who are account managers over 10 years with our company, which is rare. So, the next generation of automotive leaders that want to stay, as Jim was saying, need to rely on trusted resources to help guide, direct, and build the skills internally. It doesn't happen overnight. But I do believe the future dealership needs to be data-centric, data-driven, organized with their roll-up reporting, and that's what the big groups are doing. They have MBAs, they have people on their staff building data lakes. At the Automotive CXO Summit, we had Brian Everson from Garber. We had the team from DGGG sharing their data strategies. And so I want to encourage the single point stores and smaller, medium-sized stores that if they need help getting their data architecture together, reach out to me, because this is what we've been doing for 16 years.
Alan, when Brian says that, is that, the cleanliness of your data and having that be a portion of what is assessed when a store is valued? Do you see a lot of that going on now, or is that kind of an afterthought in kind of the frenzy that we're in the middle of?
So I was just taking a note to myself that when we're representing sellers, which is mostly what we do, and this year we had fortunate to represent the owners of 50 rooftops. So it was a record year for us. But a lot of what we spend time on is describing the dealership to a potential buyer, and so they can make an informed offer on the business. But we talk about historical financials, we talk about add backs, we talk about projections, we talk about the market, we talk about their facility. We kind of try to, are they in a union, what DMS they are, but that's really it. And I just wrote down, should we have a section on dealer data and software products?
Yes.
Where they rank on sophistication and what is their data architecture? So I think that, you've given me some really good ideas about ways that we can enhance a buyer's ability to estimate what influence they could have on the performance of that dealership post-closing. So, if we can talk about planning volume versus actual volume, some dealers believe those are fair metrics or not. But if we have a client that's running billboards and bus stop ads and that's it, and they don't have any data architecture whatsoever, I would think a buyer would be licking their chops and bidding strongly on that business, versus if we got one that's really crazy sophisticated, it might actually be useful to a buyer that has confidence in capital, but not a lot of sophistication. They could take some intellectual property into their own group and enhance, re-leverage their own company with that information. So that's, you've given me a good idea. So the short answer is we haven't been talking a lot about our clients' data architecture, other than their DMS provider and how long it lasts, and hoping it's not rentals with a 5-year deal, because most consolidators have moved away from them.
We can definitely attest, Kyle and I in our work with Contagious have been able to see front row what happens when a dealer is acquired and the data is a mess.
Yeah.
And it's ugly. And it's really ugly. And I think most dealers don't take into consideration, if it is, that means legitimate downtime. It means legitimate loss in sales. It means legitimate headache trying to get it started. So we only have about a minute left. I'd like to bounce back to Jim, and I'd like to each of you to just take 30 seconds and, from your perspective and your area of expertise, given all the things and all the conversations that you're privy to, what are the most savvy dealers talking about being on the attack in 2022 Q1? What are the most savvy dealers talking about?
It's all about getting digital retailing, modern retailing right. It's something that's been a takeaway from 20 and 2021. Some consumers are doing it, as you know, obviously not the vast majority, but we know that that's going to change. More and more are engaging every single month with dealers on a digital basis, and consumers want it. It seems the OEMs want it as just as much, and this is something dealers have to get right. If they do nothing else but focus on getting that element right, I think, and hopefully here at CBT News, and certainly with Brian Pasch, we can help them navigate that. And it's going to be all about modern retailing. So now's the time to get your house in order in that area. And because I think one day you're going to turn around and every store will be much like a Carvana, where somebody picks up their phone and they buy a car, and it's either delivered to them, or the consumer goes by the dealership for 5 minutes, not 5 hours, and picks up their new car because everything's already been done.
Very
So
good.
I think that's from what the people I'm speaking to. And then, as you know, I speak to a lot of different people here all across the country in different sectors. They say this is an area that dealers need to get it right.
Very nice. Brian Pasch, and then we'll end with Alan. So Brian.
Yeah, just piggybacking off of both conversations, number one, acquirers that analyze a dealer and know that they've been very unsophisticated with marketing realize that this is a huge opportunity. And number two, as Jim was saying, working with some dealer groups, when you improve overall website conversion by 0.5% or 1% for these larger dealer groups, this represents 10, 20, $30 million in revenue. So it's the combination of digital retailing and real-time retailing. I can show dealers how to dramatically increase conversion, and for larger groups, this is the breakthrough that they need to fully materialize their acquisition investments.
I love it. Alan, you get the final word, my friend.
So for sellers, or excuse me, for buyers, I always liked the strategy that Don Flo had, which is a large dealer in North Carolina, Virginia. And he has a phrase that he thinks local scale is far more valuable than national scale. So he wants to only acquire dealerships that are within about an hour drive of Greensboro, North Carolina. But we still see leading dealers travel thousands of miles to buy stores. For instance, we sold a group of stores recently to a very large Florida-based group in New Hampshire. And he said, I'm coming here to buy stores because the stores in Florida have gotten so expensive. So he has a model where he puts in partners in the stores and, they perform very well. So we're still seeing, large buyers, if they have the financial capital and the human capital, they're willing to travel almost anywhere in the country to acquire dealerships. On the seller side, again, I think people are a little bit opportunistic. The people that were buyers earlier in 2021 might raise their hand and sell this year. We had one client who said, hey, I want to sell, or one potential client who said, I want to sell. We presented to him. They huddled and they said, what, conditions are so good right now. We're going to wait a little bit and maybe we'll go out in a few years. So we're seeing sellers being a little bit not ambivalent about their future, but the prices are so high right now. Sometimes they'll sell, or sometimes they'll ride it out a little bit longer. But the families that don't have a viable succession plan, we're seeing those exit in greater numbers now because the conditions are so good for sellers. And they're able to redeploy that capital in other industries and have a diversified net worth and create that multi-general wealth that I think a lot of families are seeking.
Sounds great. Thank you for that. Alan Haig, Jim Fitzpatrick, Brian Pasch, all of our best to you and your families over the holidays. Thank you so much for sharing some of your insider tips with us. And it sounds like you had some new business ideas along the way. So all the best to you. We're looking forward to making some more trouble in 2022.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Okay, giveaway. We're more than halfway done.
We're more than halfway.
Well, this is always like the fastest 3 hours of my life.
Every time.
So, all right, what are we giving away this time?
We're giving away the next size up speaker. So you're going to notice a change as we go from the Beats to, we've got this beautiful JBL Charge 5 that you can set a whole room on fire with. So I think, can we get the next winner up in here?
Right.
There he is. He's coming in hot.
Here.
There's Sean.
Let's see. Danielle Mills Walden.
Ah, Danielle.
You win.
Love you, Danielle. We will get this out to you with a personally handwritten note.
And
soon.
look, if you haven't registered and you haven't signed up yet, go to dealerspushingback.com, register for the extravaganza, because we have one thing, right? Little speakers, bigger speaker. We'll see what we have next, but you can probably guess something like what that's going to look like. If you register, you're still eligible to win, and you'll also be eligible to get the very first NFT and retail automotive that we are going to mint and allow you to have. Don't worry, we'll coach you through all the specifics so you can get a wallet. And even if you don't understand what it is, you'll have it. You'll understand it at some point. We're going to roll the next clip from our sponsor that's going to wish you happy holidays and tell you a little something. Here we go.
It's Brad Pascal from Fix Ups Digital. Man, it's been a crazy year. We've been through a lot of stuff. And I'm reminded of something that my dad told me when I was a little kid. So I'd always ask him, hey, Dad, have you ever done this before? And he would say, yeah, this and one more make two. I feel like that sums up our year perfectly. There's a lot of crazy stuff that we had to go through that we never had to go through before. And it really kind of separated out the problem solvers. And I think that's what Kyle and Paul have done here greatly, is bring these problem solvers together. So I want to end with this. I want to wish you a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Fix Ups Digital. But I also want to say, if you have any problems on the fixed side or the variable side, or you need any help anywhere, please reach out to me. I'm always here to help. Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the year.
Look at that. Our man, Brad. Great stuff. Thank you, Fix Stops Digital. Now we are coming in hot, starting the second half of the show. Woo! Troublemaking with Grit with Glenn Lundy, Damon Lester, and David Long. Cannot wait for this session. There's a whole lot of grit, a whole lot of energy from this session, and three men who have come from places where you maybe wouldn't expect it and doing so much in automotive retail right now. So I want to first welcome, and we're going to start with Damon, and we're going to give each of you just a few minutes to give us the encouragement from your perspective, and maybe tell us a little bit about what your holidays might look like this year. So Damon, I want to start with you.
Hey, good afternoon, good morning. How's everybody doing? You two looking like the Blues Brothers with the suits on and the tie.
That's the
looking
second
real
one.
Smooth, Colin and Paul. Again, Damon Lester, thank you for the opportunity to be on here. And I think with this holidays, I think gratitude is one of the biggest things that I'm grateful of, having the opportunity to purchase in the store and helping people and helping others help each other to grow personally and professionally. That's one of the good things, but one of the things that I'm looking forward to this holiday and bringing into the new year as well.
Awesome. Glenn, we'll go to you.
What's up, guys? My gosh, dude, the set there is unbelievable. I see David Long over there, though. I see, and I'm like zoomed in. Wow. Like, I gotta back up, bro. I gotta back up real quick. I got the zoomed in version.
I love the sweater. The sweater is on point, though, by the way. Thank you for the
well,
red.
thank you. Can you guys even see that? I don't even know if you see it. Thank you, though. But no, you guys look good, man. Set looks good. Super excited. You know, there's a guy named Ross Dawson. I want you guys to all look him up. His name's Ross Dawson. Ross Dawson is the greatest futurist of our time, according to Warren Buffett and a lot of other people. And Ross Dawson said something recently that I just found incredibly profound. And Ross Dawson said, thank you, though. Oh, I heard somebody talking. Ross Dawson said, we are going to experience 2,000 years of evolution in the next 100 years. 2,000 years in the next 100. Technology, the way we're communicating, everything's moving so fast. So if you do the backwards math on that, that means we're going to experience 200 years of evolution in the next 10. That means 5 years from now, the way that we live, work, play, talk, communicate, all of that will look 100 years different than it does right now, 5 years from now, right? So think about where we were 100 years ago, 1920, when Ford was just releasing the Model T, right, to where we are today. That's the difference that we should expect and anticipate over the next 5 years. Wow. So everything's just moving so fast. So what that makes me think is, oh my gosh, if things are that accelerated, think about the opportunities we have. If we can move with the punches, if we can be agile, if we can look at things from a whole new perspective, through a whole different glass, we can get 100 years of opportunity packed into the next 5. And that's what has me excited. And so you're asking, what am I doing this holiday season? I'm prepping for rapid acceleration in 2022 and beyond.
There we go. I love it. David, we're moving to you.
No pressure. You got to follow that up.
No pressure. But look, the tree is just brighter than bright. I love it.
I'm waiting for Brian Kramer to fly in from left side of the screen, dressed as Buddy the Elf, and tackle that Christmas tree right now.
He's not here today. I only joined for 2 reasons. One is because I love you two guys, and 2 is because I wanted to be a part of Glenn Lundy's birthday. So happy birthday, Glenn Lundy.
Wow.
We're not going to sing.
What I'm really looking forward to, nothing like Glenn. I'm just looking forward to holding my grandson on Christmas morning. He's going to be here. He's 9 months old. And this will be his very first Christmas. He's going to be here from Florida. And, man, it's all about family for me right now. And that's where I am, and that's what I'm feeling really good about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, we titled this section Troublemaking with Grit. And so I think what we want to kind of talk about is the grit that all three of you have exerted in different ways within the industry. You know, Damon, coming from not being a dealer, being in name ad, David, working your way through doing things like buying centers when they didn't exist, Glenn, coming from as your story tells it, being in prison cells to being in the top of your game in the industry and continue. All right, Damon, we'll start with you. What is it? What do you see as and I love this industry because it is so full of grit. But what do you see as the way that, especially how Glenn was describing these next 5 years, as the way forward for dealers and dealer groups in moving forward with an element of grit and not just refinery, right? What does that look like for you?
Oh, we just can't. We cannot be complacent in anything that we do. We got to grind. We got to grind and actually grind harder next year than we did this year. Because as we can see now, the world is changing. And the world is continuously changing, as Glenn just mentioned. And so we have to continuously reinvent ourselves and be prepared to grind away come January, come the next day or the next day after that, so that we can live all of the promises that we all look forward to is being successful. We got more disruptors coming into our industry next year, and we need to be prepared to be able to attack and continue to present our business case forward, in which we need to do a better job at doing globally.
Yeah. Glenn, if we are moving at that pace, at a pace of 100 years and 5 years, that means that daily we're seeing half of years coming by, right? So, where the planning and expectation, 3 years ago was possible, planning and expectation is much, much harder to do. So what are you encouraging business leaders that are going, I don't even know what tomorrow is going to look like, potentially?
Yeah. So, they always say, you make hay while the sun shines, right? Or the best time to put on a roof is when the sun's shining outside, right? So right now in this industry, many of us have experienced record years, very profitable years, things like that, right? It's great season. So right now is the time to really identify areas of opportunity within your dealership. I believe there are 6 primary areas that every dealership should be looking at right now and figuring out exactly how they're going to not just reduce, but remove friction in those areas. There are so many aspects of what we do in this industry that is so antiquated, and it's because it's something we put in place back when it worked, right? 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and we've just been running on that same treadmill. And ultimately now what we're seeing is a lot of the things we used to do made sense for then, but they're not the best thing we should be doing moving forward. So the 6 areas, I think organic traffic is incredibly important for all dealers. They need to be able to have an organic traffic plan in 2022, not just a paid plan. I think inventory acquisition is incredibly crucial. Understanding inventory acquisition and how you're going to get those cars through the system. I think your processes, every single process in the dealership should be reviewed, should be like, do we still need to do this? Why do we do this way? It needs to be looked at from a different lens. I think customer attrition is incredibly important. Brand loyalty and getting customers, like Damon just said, 15 new manufacturers are coming into our market. 15 new manufacturers are coming into our market. The customers have more choices than ever. You've got to figure out how to get creative and keep your customers coming back again, and again. The 5th thing is our advertising. Dude, we got to start telling stories and quit telling people prices and payments. It just doesn't work anymore. Look at that General Motors commercial that they just released that we all saw with the old dude, and he lost his wife and he's crying, and we're all connected to the commercial, and it's gotten shared 10 billion times because they told a story, right? And so we got to relook at how we do our advertising and the way we tell stories. And the 6th, the most important aspect of the whole thing, is we have to understand. The CEO of Chick-fil-A says this best. We are not in the car business. We're in the leadership development business. That's the business that we're in. And so we have to become better leaders in our organizations, and we have to understand that it's our role to create better leaders in our organization. And so I think those 6 areas are the most important in the dealerships. I think they should take them one at a time, dial them in while the sun's still shining. And then as things move around, you'll have a solid foundation and ecosystem so that you don't get knocked down.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
Gotta fan him off.
He gave
for a
us
second.
6. Let's
It's
go.
getting hot in the studio all of a sudden. It's getting hot in the studio. Okay, so to that being said, I would love to hear from all of you, because this is troublemaking with grit, right? The world belongs to those people that have the grit and the fortitude to move forward. So David Long, I would love to hear, how would you define the grit necessary to get through 22 and win 2022? Give us some characteristics of grit.
So, man, grit, that's one of my favorite 4-letter words. Without grit, I don't think I'd be sitting here talking to you guys with these 2 superstars next to me. I think that what's going to define us and really get us through this new year is to not just learn, but more importantly, to unlearn all the things. And to Brian Benstock said it all the time: learn, unlearn, and then relearn. I think my favorite word for 2022 is going to be why. You know, if I had to find one word, it would be why. Just ask myself and my team why. Why are we doing it that way? Why have we always done it that way? Does it still make sense to do it that way? Because quite frankly, even though there's 15 more brands coming into the marketplace, I don't think they're comparing us. The consumer's not comparing us against them. Guess what they're comparing us against? When I got my iPhone, they're comparing us to that experience, that frictionless experience where I knew what I was going to get. It showed up when they said it would show up, and I didn't have to think about anything. So why are we doing what we were doing, and how much grit does it take? I think it's going to take an awful lot of grit to challenge the things that I call outdated thinking that we've just used for the last 50 years. I've been doing this 33 years. Some guy walked down from the top of the mountain with a tablet and handed me this list of 10 things I needed to do to sell a car, none of which are relevant today. I need to break the tablet.
Good, break it.
Start all
break
over.
It. Go ahead, David. Break it.
So that tablet's broken, and I'm going to hook my wagon to people like Glenn and Damon and Brian Benstock and Liza Borges. And the last thing I'd say, Liza told me this last week, the CEO from Chick-fil-A. He said, the people that work with you, the paycheck should be the smallest value they receive for being on your team.
Let's go.
And that's going to be one of my main focuses in 2022.
Oh my gosh, all of you guys are just...
I told you we were going to start off the second half of the show.
The camera's smoking. The Zoom screen is smoking. Damon, you get to follow that up. So in 2022, how are you defining the grit necessary to thrive? How are you defining grit?
Oh man, we are changing the way that we do business. We're revisiting how we looking at our people. We're making sure everyone is cross-trained. We're making sure we're looking at our processes again and redoing them and making sure that they are frictionless, as David and Glenn mentioned, because our focus is not going to be on the focus on our employees and what's convenient for us. As Glenn has said a couple of times, we're going to focus on what's convenient for the customer. And what David and Glenn have mentioned, we got a lot of people coming in who rather outside entities who'd rather have this frictionless, I want what I want, when you're going to get it to me, we're willing to wait for it because we know what we're going to get when we want it. And so we want to make sure we have our version of that, and we're going to make sure we have define who we are and make it our way of doing business. And so that's what we're doing now and continue to do into next year.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think the customer's going to demand a lot of us. I think David said that a bit. Like, they're not demanding us be an EV automaker. They're demanding us be like the best experiences that they have on a regular, everyday basis. Glenn, you were for so long a GM at a store, and your mantra was changing that perception. And we heard from some people earlier that we're gonna need to work on, like, it's gonna take grit, not just to make the changes in store. And you actually talked about advertising, selling stories, but we actually have to work on making the change outside of our stores. So what type of grit does it take from an owner that maybe has done things so long to not just shift everything in store, but also shift that perception outside of the store in their communities?
Well, I think that, first a dealer has to understand that that's valuable to them. Right? Our industry has always been dog eat dog. It's always been competition. It's always been cutthroat. It's always been hold our cards close to our vest. And so because we have been divided, which you guys have all heard this before, right? United we stand, divided we fall. So we've been divided for a very, very long time. So what I think has to happen first is the dealer has to understand that there's value in collaboration. That if we can come together and change our perspective, if we can come together as an industry, then we can start to eradicate the negative stigmas associated with the car business. But that takes a level of grit, to use your word, to really eat your ego. You got to eat the ego, right? This is a very egocentric industry. I mean, what other industry I mean, there's a couple, I guess, but what other industry where the dealers, they put their name up on the side of the building? The biggest thing you see on the side of the building is the last name of the guy who owns the joint, right? This is a very egocentric business, and it's been that way for a long time, and it was important that it was run that way. We would not be where we are today if it wasn't for the dealers that came before us and carved the path, that carved the way. But now we got to have the grit to eat that ego, get rid of it, and say, hey, look, as an industry, we have to change this perception if we want to thrive moving forward. It's not one store at a time, it's an industry as a whole. And so that's what I think is going to be the hardest part, is really getting dealers to break out of that old mold and realize how important it is to go outside of our industry, to bring in other great thought leaders, to combine and share resources, experiences, and really move this ball forward.
All right, we have about 60 seconds left. I want to give each of you a chance to do a final word and give the industry one exhortation, one word of advice, one encouragement that they can take home with them. We'll start with Damon.
Oh, my one word is geez, that's tough.
Well, one word of advice. You can go a sentence. I like
we gotta
fight though.
What we want.
Fight, right? It really is like a fight. You're going to take punches. You got to throw punches. I like that. David Long.
Why? Right? Just keep asking why. Just keep examining.
I'm going to drop a 4-year-old.
Why we're doing it. What led us to the conclusion that was in the best interest of our people and our customer. And when the answer comes up as it's not the right thing to do for our people or our customer, make the hard choice to change, right? And Glenn said, eat the ego. I love that. So that's where I leave it. And again, happy birthday, Glenn, and happy holiday. Merry Christmas to everybody that's on this Zoom. Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Love it. Glenn Lundy, final encouragement. What's your sentence or your word?
Yeah, man, the word that I'll give you is runway, right? In order to launch a plane, it takes a runway, and there has to be little lights built into that little runway, and we have to have the asphalt right, and we have to have enough space to be able to launch this plane that can carry hundreds and hundreds of people around the world, right? Our dealerships have been helicopter pads for the longest. It's where we just create enough space to take off, and that's what we do. Is everything's reactive and everything's short-term thinking. It's time for dealers to start thinking long-term. How can we build the runway so that we can continue to propel our dealerships up and take lots of people with us?
Glenn Lundy, Damon Lester, David Long, gentlemen, thank you so much for sharing some time and your wisdom and your grit with us today. Our best to all of your families and your loved ones during the holiday season. Looking forward to making a lot more trouble with you in 2022.
Absolutely. Thanks, gents.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. All right. We have another segment from our sponsors wishing you a Merry Christmas. We're going to roll that and get right into our next session with Alex Vetter and Rhett Reichert. But first, this Christmas greeting.
Happy holidays from Volkswagen! Our gift to you this year is a holiday dad joke.
What do elves post on social media?
Elfies!
Every
that's
live
so good.
stream needs a good dad joke.
We got to have more dad jokes in our
Thanks
lives. That
to
was
our
great.
friends who made us laugh a little bit. We're
Hey,
gonna move.
before we keep going, I just want to remind everyone that all the speakers and anyone that's registered today will be receiving the very first NFT in automotive. It's a POAP. So make sure you go to dealerspushingback.com/extravaganza and do that. Don't worry, the speakers that are in our green room right now will also get one as well. But I just wanted to remind, because that's just a cool thing.
We're going to be part of history, not only history, but history that is verified on the Ethereum blockchain. And if you don't know what that means, you'll know what it means soon enough. And so we just wanted to, good for mentioning that, because it's going to be part of today. But right now we're going to troublemaking with innovation with two dear friends that have been really on the front lines and took quite the beating from when COVID started until now, but they're still standing. They threw punches, they took punches. Thanks for joining us, both Rhett Reichert and Alex Vetter. Gentlemen, it is great to see you today.
Great to see you, Paul. Great to see you, Kyle.
Yeah, thank you. I feel, you look like the Blues Brothers there in Chicago.
That's three.
Right.
3 times. We nailed it.
We're the Blues Brothers in Syracuse today. Kyle's from Nashville. Alex, very good job on the Christmas spirit with the lights around your neck. We'll give you a gold star for that. So today, I want to make sure we get some good conversation in. We're going to talk about responding to new opportunities by leaning into technology and leaning into change. Alex, you're somebody who has helped the industry really think forward and act forward. Rhett, you're someone who is just spearheading a large group that has always been really, I won't say addicted to change, but really welcoming to and adoptive of change. So we have two good perspectives. We have a dealer perspective, and we also have an industry partner perspective. Let me start with you, Alex. You have announced a couple changes in your organization. Joe Chura is now Chief Innovation Officer. So you're really leaning into developing out what the next thing for the industry you think should be. So tell us a little bit about why that's important to us in this time.
Well, look, Paul, thank you. And kudos to Joe, right? He's been one of the best innovators in the auto industry using technology as an enabler. And we see an opportunity to converge our marketplace strength of cars.com and drive users directly into the dealer system. And so Joe's going to be helping integrate the technologies that are going to help move us from being just a marketplace, but rather a distribution and demand gen partner for dealerships. Like, we see very vividly that if we can get people off our marketplace into the dealer's website, dealers are closing those sales at 2 to 3 times the rate than if they get information directly from the marketplace. And so Joe and I are committed to basically figuring out what are the technologies that can help make that journey efficient, so that users go from research to purchase in as quickly as possible time with the fewest resources needed by the dealership.
Yeah, that's going to be a seismic transition. And the fact that you understand that and you're willing to stand for that is one of the reasons that dealers really believe that you're for them. Rhett, coming from the dealer side, your business, your dealership group is on the prowl. You've been scooping up, you've been growing, and I've been seeing a lot of change being pioneered and championed through that. So why don't you give us a little insight to how you're approaching technology and leveraging technology to really scale your business?
Well, thank you. And thanks for reaching out to all the dealers with this. Dealers need to hear it from a lot of their peers exactly during these disruptive times on how to think things through. And you always need some sort of mentorship. So I appreciate your show for that. You take a look at all the rapid acceleration of the consolidation of the retailers right now, and also look at the rapid consolidation of the financing sources, the banks, et cetera, et cetera. It's all about the technology, right? The more they can consolidate, the more they can utilize their data, the more they can take this data and they can maximize the customer experiences and their profitability in each. So unless you're on this train going forward and you don't have a 20-year plan in your mind on how you're going to run this business, I strongly suggest you find another business to get involved with, because this is going to pick up speed exponentially in the very near future as more and more change and disruption happens in the retail industry. The automobile dealer is here to stay. It works. The distribution system is the most efficient system in the world. Everyone knows that. It's proven that. There'll be other direct sale modes, et cetera, but it's all going to be part of how the automobile dealer consolidation adapts to it. When you take a look at people like Sonic and some of the other big publics having their own platforms they're doing it with. So, I enjoy it. I think it's exciting. And I think dealers should embrace it and find out it's exciting too, and enter this whole new world of data. It's the whole new world of data. It's not the new. I remember I saw a picture on the internet of some salesmen sitting on hoods of cars with cowboy hats waiting on customers to come through the door. And I think that's a little dated. Nowadays people are shopping from their home. They're using the internet. And they're using other digital sources and exactly, Alex is exactly right. We're on a huge data management thing, and now with these connected cars, it's even going to accelerate it faster and further.
Mm-hmm. That's funny, that picture that you just referenced. It reminds me of a story I heard where a dealer wouldn't even let a salesman come in the air-conditioned building in like 98-degree weather unless they walked in with a customer. So the guys sitting on the hoods were like, "Hey, do you need to use a bathroom? Walk in the store with me and pretend I'm selling you a car." That's a little old school right there. Let's talk about Q1 of 2022. Alex, what do you think are the indicators that you're paying attention to most to help dealers thrive in Q1?
Yeah, well, look, I look at daily consumer data that shows me the level of organic demand that is in the market today. And I can tell you every signal that I'm seeing is we're heading into a good year next year. There's still robust consumer demand happening on cars.com this week, today. And remember, our audience is usually using our platform prior to purchase. So I'm able to see a little bit of a crystal ball headed into next year, and we're going to have a great start to the year at minimum. I think, the other thing we're obviously paying a lot of attention to is the demand or supply challenges. We are seeing some new car inventory volumes come back. We're seeing the first time ever retail prices start to dip ever so softly, but that's, I think, partially because supply is coming back into the market. And so we study both of these things. And I think that we're set up for a good environment. I think that we've been enjoying a crazy year this year, right? With just record profitability across the industry, which is exciting. With supply coming back, I think dealers are going to have to be even more on top of their digital game, because there'll be more competition for those sales that exist out there.
Rhett, you represent quite a few franchises. What's your temperature from the dealer side on the inventory coming back? Like, what are you seeing and hearing that has you feeling, optimistic or pessimistic or pensive?
I think Alex said it best. When I look back in 2020, I was quoted as saying many times, dealers are adopting the digital platforms at record paces, so that 80 to 90% of the dealers could do a retail delivery by the end of the year. And I missed it. It was about August when they figured it all out. Dealers are quick to learn. They're quick to adapt. They're quick to adjust. We've got great vendors in the automobile industry. We got like Alex and others to be able to have the tools that we need, each dealer to be able to adapt to what their market and their customers really want to buy. I think what the most unique phenomenon, I agree with everything Alex said about next quarter, but these are some phenomena I see that I've never seen before. I've never seen vehicles that I have to be careful on who I sell it to, because if I sell it to somebody outside my market whom I'll never see again, I could very easily sell it to someone that lives in my market that I might have a follow-up opportunity to sell more products. Ferrari and Porsche dealers have had this for years and years with limited availability and a high demand environment. And now the other manufacturers, such as we have, the domestics and some of the imports, we have to be a little bit more specific. I think that's a phenomenon I've never seen before. We're having to learn to have more discipline. Other than that, I think the first quarter is going to be good, like Alex said. I think that the semiconductor chip is still out there, and I think the disruptor's out there. But I think there's one thing we haven't had a hard look at, and that's that mandate to have everyone vaccinated. I don't know of many automobile dealers that I know that are running at a 100% vaccination rate. And many of their employees, which are very difficult to find nowadays, any employee of any value and any work ethic, to be able to say, well, unless you're vaccinated, you can't come to work. You can't work in my environment. In the car business, about everything is done at the dealership.
Right.
We can't have a lot of people at home doing a lot of the work. You know, software companies, Alex knows you can, but not in our case. We have to have them in the store to fix those cars and all. So it's going to create a huge issue February 9th when OSHA decides to enforce some of these rules if it is not looked at differently by the Supreme Court here in the near future. Car dealerships are an essential business, and you're just going to cut the nose off an essential business, as well as, let's think of trash companies, people, electric companies do repair. It's going to be a huge issue. So that's going to be a disruptor in the first quarter as I see it.
Oh, man. Yeah, you know, I had another question, but now looking back, especially at the height of the pandemic, you know, Rhett, you being at that moment, you know, the NADA chairman and NADA going to bat for the dealers, and Alex, you doing similarly, you know, and coming out. I'll ask Alex, you know, what does it look like to in a time where there is high demand and, you know, low capacity for hiring? What does it look like to push back against that? And then how can, you know, Alex, and I'll kind of preface this conversation with, we had a conversation at Brian Pasch's AAAS that was, you know, all markets look to automotive. We're the leading indicator for so many automotive other industries. You know, how can we be leaders and not just and be pace setters for that portion of our culture right now?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I agree with everything Rhett said as well. Like our dealership, what we've learned about this business over 20 years is that while technology is an enabler, there is still so much of that last mile that requires the dealership operators to really be the link to the customer equation. And that's why, you know, we advocated on behalf of dealerships. We think they are essential, not just to the local communities, but to drive the fuller market. And so I'll just echo that point. I think obviously we're entering into a new era where consumer expectations are being changed outside of automotive. If you just look at the way, you know, the future drivers are working with technology today, they're expecting 80 to 90% of what they want to be readily available online. And I'm pleased that dealerships have responded. I mean, if you look at what they're doing today, our website customers through Dealer Inspire, the amount of changes that we're processing for dealers, they're looking to make daily updates to make sure that everything is as relevant as possible. And certainly we see that on our marketplace as well. So I'm proud that this industry is aggressively shifting towards digital channels. I think it is going to be the new expectation that people are going to meet. And you're looking at things like home delivery being done at a hyper local level. There aren't just a few players shipping cars across the country, but we're now seeing local dealers deliver cars locally to people's homes within an hour. And that to me just shows what Rhett was talking about, like the entrepreneurialism of these local dealerships to do whatever they can to service and support their customers is unrivaled. And they're using tech to get it started, but then they're so well equipped to be the last mile.
So we're running out of time here because we're trying to keep up, but I would really love for you to give kind of from your heart. Like, now I know, Rhett, you can actually say it like straight up. You don't have the PR side that you have to worry about anymore. I want to hear Rhett Reichert right now. I want to hear Rhett Reichert. What is your encouragement to the dealers in 2022? What do you just want to say to them? If you had them all in a room and they were paying attention and no one else was listening, because it's just us here right now. You don't have to worry about anybody else seeing this ever. What are you going to say to dealers?
I don't know if I can buy that or not, but I like your thought. I can tell you something that's very, very important. And that's that the automobile manufacturers have relearned how important the automobile dealer distribution system is in the United States, because during the darkest hours of COVID, during the darkest hours of this country and all over the world, automobile dealers that were essential were open to get people back and forth from work, police cruisers, emergency vehicles. We kept people rolling, doctors, all the businesses were responsible to have our inner core operations of the world, just not the United States, as essential. We were able to deliver that service. And I don't think manufacturers, in fact, I know manufacturers would not have been able to pull that off if they had some sort of a direct sale model and they were doing it out of hubs all over the place. It never would have happened. And the dealers were the ones that made it happen.
Oh, amen to
Those
that.
are my thoughts.
Thank you very much, Alex. Marita's blowing up my phone right now. No, she's not. But I do want to thank Marita and Afaf for making you available today. But from your heart, what are you saying to dealers in 2022? What do you want to encourage them with?
Well, look, I'd echo what Rhett just said, but I would say we were having a conversation before this about the importance of listening to your customers. I mean, they're the ones that are going to guide your business strategy more than ever. Keep listening to your customers. And what I'm really pleased about over the last year, dealerships I used to think would think technology was a threat, and like how to resist technology. And what I'm seeing now happen is dealerships are realizing it's the great enabler. They can use technology to enable their business and use it more as a weapon as opposed to viewing it as a threat. And that's what our collection of companies is designed to do, which is to give power back to the local community. Most technology companies try to disrupt the middleman or hurt the little guy. I'm really proud our companies have all put the local dealer at the center of our ecosystem, and we're here to enable them with the tools they need to compete. And we're not finding dealerships pushing back on us anymore. Like, they want to know, what else do we have? What else can we do to help them automate, use technology to their advantage? And so again, it's back to what Rhett said. They're entrepreneurs. They're going to take whatever they can to create a competitive advantage. And I'm just proud that this industry is rapidly embracing digital like never before.
Well, the two of you have really pushed down the belief that when dealers band together, no crisis can win. Alex Vetter, Rhett Riker, thank you so much for giving us some of your time today. All of our best to your families and your loved ones through the holiday season. And we're looking forward to making a lot more trouble together in 2022. And the lights are on. Alex is about to head out. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you, guys. Keep up the great work.
Damn proud to be a car dealer.
Let's go.
Right.
All right, we are moving on to our next session. But before we do that, we are going to hear from another one of our sponsors who just made a nice little heartfelt video talking about what they're doing and well wishes for the industry. So let's hear from our next segment sponsor.
Peter, it's been great working with you this year, helping us take our products and technology and being part of the industry dialogue. What I'm most excited about is what's coming in 2022, where we're going to make what we've built even more accessible to dealers. I think dealers shouldn't have to work so hard and pay so much to build a successful marketing plan. What are your thoughts?
Well, that's very clear, Tool. From Tampa to Vegas to Palm Beach to Austin to Miami last week, the message is very clear that dealers need to own their own data. There's no more important time than now to understand the necessity, to understand the shopper journey, the customer journey on a dealership's website. And we're well positioned to help the industry and dealers do that. So I'm very excited about what we can do into the next year in 2022.
Well, on behalf of Peter and I and the rest of the amazing Orbi team, we'd like to wish this industry happy holidays. And 2022 is going to be a fantastic year.
All right. Thank you so much, Orbi. Appreciate your sponsorship and your encouragement to the industry. I am very excited to introduce our next segment, which is troublemaking with platforms. And we heard just a moment ago, Alex Vetter and even Rhett just encourage dealers to this end, saying, hey, look, the technology is an enabler. It's a weapon. It's a thing to put in your tool belt to have platforms and technologies to be able to equip your people, equip you to do better business with better efficiency. And none other than Kerri Wise herself is with us. And Bob is going to be joining us in a minute. He's a little tied up.
No, you know what Bob's doing right now? I want everybody right now to picture Bob with an Oculus on,
Yes.
right? And he's wandering around the metaverse trying to find the exit. Right, so he can get here to this Zoom call. That's in my mind. That's how.
Actually, he might appear right here because it's actually a metaverse that we're in just a moment.
In an Obi-Wan Kenobi robe.
Exactly. Well, Bob, if you're listening from the metaverse, we can't wait to have you soon. But we've got Kerri Wise on. Kerri, we are so excited to have you here. Thanks for coming and hanging out with us for a little while.
I am so excited, and I gotta admit, I never wear red to any speaking engagement, and I'm so glad I could pull my red dress out for this event.
Engagement. You've never been to a year-end extravaganza before.
I have not. So I was really excited about the holiday chic.
Well, when you said you're the one that came up with that, you came up with holiday chic, And that's what I told everybody from that point forward. They were like, what should I wear? Holiday chic. We'll leave it open, but you're matching even the ornaments. Like Kerri set the bar high and she just jumped over it. So thank you for
You got to
helping
bring the
us with
sizzle.
that. That's right.
Absolutely crushed it. Well, Kerri, we would love to kind of hear your perspective, especially coming, from two market leaders and in different segments, from an inventory and lead acquisition at TrueCar, and then moving now you're with AutoFi, been in a couple of different regions of platforms or technologies that enable dealers. But what is your perspective as we head into 2022, leveraging some of these platforms, especially with AutoFi? We've heard from, I think every single person at this point saying, hey, look, you've got to understand digital or really modern or omni-channel retailing. What are the people that you're in touch with really looking to enable platforms in their dealerships heading into 2022?
Yeah, AutoFi sits in a very unique place in the industry because not only do we work directly with dealers and enabling them through their websites, but we work with a lot of other players within the industry. We power OEMs, we power, groups, we power banks. And so when, through that lens, we kind of see, we have a good viewpoint on what's happening, in the digital space. And I think there's definitely a race to digital retailing is what I call it. No one's quite there yet, but there's that race to digital retailing. And there's all these big entities that are going after it. And what I like to say is that, now is not the time to rest on your laurels. I know we have seen record-breaking profits in the industry, but I will say from our vantage point, these big players are leaning in. When you look at our data, we see a 425% increase in credit apps in the last year over year, 605% increase in funded loans. And so consumers are leaning in, and certainly some of these players are leaning in as well in this race to digital retailing.
Yeah, and I love how you say it's a race to digital retailing, because I know a lot of dealers, especially mid to large size dealer groups, that are leaning on asking the vendors, the providers, especially in your space, we've got to get this done. We've got to pull together the DMS and the bank and the website provider and the data providers, and we have to get this done in order to serve our customers well, because dealers are realizing, as we've heard already throughout our sessions, like, this is a non-negotiable. This is going to be table stakes very quickly. And as Glenn Lundy said, we're about to hit 100 years in 1 year, right? Or 5 years. So
5 years, yeah.
So what's the speed to get there? What do you see? Like, do you see it as possible in 2022 for not just AutoFi, but multiple vendors to come to the table to enable dealers to do that?
It's absolutely going to take more than just a company like AutoFi. I think the integrations, as you mentioned, with the CRM and the DMS are very important. I think one of the bigger hurdles to me is that connection between online and offline. And it's what the industry has struggled with. We think of digital retailing, or many think of digital retailing as just a widget on a site. And that is not what digital retailing. I almost want to eliminate the term, because digital retailing should be retailing. And that is about bringing the showroom onto the website through digital retailing tools, but also about bringing the digital experience into the showroom. And I think that is the gap that we're seeing in terms of success in digital retailing. It's the showroom tools, because the reality is that the majority of consumers are going to start online, but they're going to end up in the showroom. And is that experience going to connect with what they experienced online? Are they going to be able to do the things that you can do on the website, like get a trade value, get financed, look at different deals? Are they going to be able to do that in the showroom with anybody in your on your team? I think digital is about enabling everyone on your team to do more, including your salespeople, all the way through management and your F&I. And we have to not think about digital as a threat to people's jobs, but more empowering them to move quicker, to add more efficiencies to the experience. And that is, to me, the true opportunity with digital retailing.
Yeah, I agree that there's a lot of efficiency loss, because, and to be honest, so much of the digital retailing platforms were targeted at, the marketer or the owner saying, hey, look, we've got to have this. And yet the rest of the showroom, the rest of the finance department, the sales management staff, not being knee deep in it, hands in, dirt, getting in the dirt of like, hey, this is what we need to actually execute a car deal. I think someone asked another Tim Cox, a good friend, said, "Hey, when's the last time you attempted to use your tool to sell a car in the showroom?" Right? That's just not a question that we're asking right now, and I think that to your point, it has to be asked.
Yeah, if you think about how we would map your website experience and the user experience, which, I've worked in the digital space, UX is everything, right? Mapping that consumer experience, you could also map it in the same way in the showroom. How can we use digital to check a customer in, right? How do we use digital to handle the trade? All of the things that we can do through the website can be done online, but it does take leadership buy-in, as you mentioned, to really push that as a culture and as a strategy to differentiate in the showroom. I think there's still a lot of resistance because there's almost a threat that this might replace my job. But we can all agree that the 4 to 5 hours it takes to buy a car, we can do better. And I think digital is a huge key to that improvement. We have to rethink the relationship between digital and the showroom. I always say that, we used to think about the showroom as an extension of your website. Really, your website is I'm sorry, the other way around. We used to think of the website as the extension of your showroom, but really your showroom is an extension of your website. We need these two to connect because people are going to start online and they're expecting that same seamless experience when they get into the showroom. There's so much opportunity there.
I'm so glad that you just juxtaposed that by accident, but I think it really makes the point. It means that we need a full shift and a full flip in our thinking because that was the traditional thinking when it came to let's have a great website because it's an extension of your showroom. Flip that on its head. No longer the case. Think about it the other way around. We've just deployed, so you know, 2 producers into the metaverse, and one has a spacesuit and one is just like Mr. Beast. And they're going to find him and they're going to bring him back.
That's okay. I can take his time.
I know. You're doing great. I just want to enough.
Well, and I think, one other thing to touch on is just from a mindset standpoint, the idea that, we have an internet department. Just if you think about the way that automotive thinks about digital, it's this separate experience. It's this separate department.
Right.
And I think, the dealership of the future is going to enable everybody to be an internet salesperson, everybody to be a digital salesperson.
I love that point.
Right? Technology makes me smarter and better.
The hierarchy.
I use my phone and I can, find anywhere in America and find the directions to. It doesn't replace who I am, but it does make me more efficient and smarter.
The hierarchy that you just mentioned, even the fact that you said dealerships, a lot of them have an internet department, right? That communicates to everybody else in the store that you are the internet department. We'll leave that to the internet department.
You can't sell cars to online people.
Right.
So I have a question for you. What was your biggest surprise of 2021? Whether something that was adopted quickly, not adopted, something that came in left field. What was your biggest surprise in 2021?
Oh, wow. I feel like all these years have just merged together. Right. But, I do think that dealers are leaning into digital in a quicker way than I have seen in my 22 years in the industry. I remember when mobile became hot and I was speaking at Digital Dealer or some conference on, hey, everybody, we got to adopt, mobile. And it felt like I was always kind of pushing at the industry to adopt. And there was always this hesitation. I feel like, with the pandemic, it caused people to lean into it. And in my mind in 2021, that they would kind of retreat back. Especially when profitability was so high for many dealers. They were kind of, quote, fat and happy from a ROI standpoint. And what I have seen is that many dealers, oftentimes the groups and the larger players are still dedicated and leaning more into digital than I was ever expecting.
Yeah, we heard just a second ago, Alex Vetter saying, well, on the Dealer Inspire platform, we're seeing more support tickets and change requests on our websites than we've ever seen in the past. I'm guessing, from your perspective, like the digital retailing tools, the AutoFis, the CarNows, the Goobagoos, all of the, the Fuses, all of that are all probably getting more like, no, we needed to do this in order to do X.
That's a great indicator because it's just driving the fact that people are tinkering.
Right.
People are changing. People are like, this isn't good enough. And obviously they're responding to it by designing new tools.
Yes.
But I love it. So Kerri's causing a lot of trouble.
And we're also seeing some of the, the groups, you're seeing a lot of consolidation with the groups. And I think we're seeing some of these groups wanting to build their own marketplaces and their own branded experiences so that they can compete against some of these digital dealers and disruptors out there. And I think that's very promising. I think the groups have a huge advantage of being very regional, but also being able to use technology to scale and to expand their footprint.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of expanding your footprint,
I wish we
got to get that. Next time we'll have the trigger pads.
Look, if
for
you look
guys.
really closely, you can see the Oculus ring around Bob's face because Bob, we sent 2 producers into the metaverse to get you out. 2.
Congrats,
Bob,
you made it.
I went to the holiday party without you. I went like without my date.
could we all not listen to Kerri Wise forever?
Yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Let's go. Well, Bob, welcome to the show. We've been talking metaverse, NFTs, technology, the whole 9 yards. And obviously, you are a part of a platform and a technology that has recently massively shifted its name in order to adopt a cultural norm and a wide swath of people that are leaning in going, hey, look, we're going to use a platform in a whole different way. So I guess what was your biggest surprise over 2021 in the way that people engaged with not just the Facebook platform, but all of the Meta platforms now, and how that user engagement has driven you all to create things new?
Yeah, I'll start off though with a quick story about the metaverse since you brought it up. When we made the name change, outside of the few texts that I got of that's a stupid name, what are you guys doing, blah, blah, blah. I did have a number of dealers ping me on LinkedIn saying they wanted to be the first dealer in the metaverse. So as much as we joke about it and maybe the name is a little funky, at the end of the day, I know there are plenty of dealers out there that do want to evolve and ensure that they're at the forefront of evolving technology. So I figured I would just tell you that quick story. So we'll see where the metaverse goes, right? I mean, the Meta or Facebook is not building the metaverse. It's going to be built by partners outside of our platform. So I'm anxious to see what gets built. But, user engagement for us just continues to be very strong. Both paid and organically. I think it was great to see dealers, for me personally, organically drive their brand with how they react and engage into the community. So that was fun to see come back after, I think maybe a little bit of a hiatus for however long, for whatever reason. It was just great to see the industry as a whole come back and realize that they've been playing a role in the community for years, for decades, and that they need to continue that and, even promote it. And there's nothing wrong with promoting it because you're promoting what you're doing, for the community, for the charitable attributions that you give. So, we've had some changes, right? And Kyle, you were at the forefront of some of those changes with Marketplace and a few of our other properties. I was very appreciative with the way the industry reacted to those changes. So thank you very much to the industry for that. But it's been an interesting time. We've went from a pandemic where we weren't sure if we could walk into a showroom to we have no new cars. I don't need to walk in because I have nothing to buy, but great demand for the industry and, at the very least used cars. And then the new ones that were coming in are being pre-sold. So I guess what I would just say is I think social media as a whole, the last couple of years has accelerated and even grown bigger than they were. Here's a stat for you. 196 million people here in the U.S. are on one of our platforms every single day.
Wow. How many people are in the U.S.? Not that much more than that.
That's more than half of it.
well more than half. So that's, if you're not there, I think the encouragement is to dealers, if you're not there, be there, right? Because that's where your people are. So as we were talking to Kerri, we were talking a lot about kind of the omni-channel retailing experience, not just digital retailing, but understanding in-store retailing and how both of those are one and the same, and dealers asking vendors and partners to do more of that. And coming from what dealers typically see Facebook or Instagram as an ad platform solely, that's a lot of the mindset around it is, oh, that's where I get paid traffic from. That's where I do display, AIA, all of that type of stuff. How are you looking at special social platforms across and shopping platforms to enable that omni-channel retailing experience that really feels seamless from the minute they that customers first engage with a dealership all the way through to the purchase and then reacquisition process?
You're going to hear this term greatly in 2022. If you haven't heard it a great amount in 2021, which is called social commerce, right? This concept of being able to discover the product, which social media already has a great ability to do, which we call discovery commerce, but then to be able to purchase right then and there within social. And then social selling is even expanded into how you're selling your product, right? How you're demonstrating your product, how you're presenting your product. And for anyone that is that is on TikTok or on Reels or sees how those people that are selling clothes and other products, how they represent what they're selling in a very fun way. They give you also the ability to purchase that product right then and there. And I think as the digital retailing platforms evolve, or even the mindset of dealers to say, hey, they don't have to buy the car from me on my platform, right, Kerri? Like it doesn't have to be on the dealer's website, or maybe it's not even going to be in person. Right? If they can get everything they can get as it relates to them being able to make a fundamentally sound decision on what they want, if they're going to do it on this platform, let's enable that ability to do that. So I think you're going to, I know you're going to hear the concept of social selling. The numbers have skyrocketed in the sense of how social selling has increased the e-commerce world. And when you tie in our love of brand or discovery commerce with social selling, you're going to see a very omni-channel or a very smooth flow on purchasing an automobile.
Wow.
Well, Bob brings up a good point, and something that I often say is the point of sale is wherever the customer is. And so that might be online for the small percent of consumers that want to do everything online. That's probably a combination of both, or that might be in the showroom, or that might be on some other properties. But I think it's the flexibility of it being wherever the customer is, and the flexibility of turning our purchase funnel upside down. We see financing. A lot of customers want that earlier in the experience, and most dealers are comfortable with. And the dealers that are going to adjust to that customer are the dealers that are going to stand out and win. Absolutely. There's no doubt about that.
What would it look like for the mommy blogger to be doing an Instagram live with a dealership's car in the background, talking about why that's the car that they drive, and someone enter a shopping experience immediately from that and purchase a car from your dealership?
It would look like revenue.
That would look like a lot of revenue. I think, look, if you can pull that off, and where that can happen, and I think it's going to happen here shortly, but I would love to see that video, and we will put it everywhere where people are at, because that's actually pushing the envelope.
But here's the thing to think about, right? Like, we've had this sales process since I sold in the 90s, which I know was even a process well before my time, right? Which is this very strict process on how to buy a car, which caused this perception that we currently have today in the auto industry, which is more negative than positive, right? In terms of the process of buying a car, right? Social selling is fun, right? They get to use scripts and how they create the videos, and they get to create videos in a fun way. So, maybe not the majority is instantly clicking a button and purchasing right then and there, but at the very least, they're getting introduced to your brand, which at that time is fun, or at least, hey, I want to do business with that brand versus that, stringent process that we have to follow, or that we've had followed for so long, which just hasn't been fun in the past. Let's flip it. Let's make it completely different, and let's have some fun with it.
Awesome. Well, hey, we're about out of time, but we want to give you one last shout to the industry. So we're going to start with Kerri and just want to ask you, as we, especially not just the whole of 2021, but as we go into January and Q1 of 2022, what's your encouragement to dealers as they take this journey, headed out of the, obviously we can't forget about the week after Christmas. That's a big week, right? We can't forget about
Industry's
that.
Still working.
But as we go into Q1, what is your encouragement to dealers, Kerri?
So I'm going to take a page from Bezos from Amazon. He says that you have to be customer focused, not competitor focused, in order to be really innovative. Something along that lines. But the key thing is that we as an industry are very competitive. We like to look at what the next dealer is doing, the next guy is doing, and we really need to think about the customer. We need to take a step back and say, what do they want? Actually, what will they want, right, in the future? Because to me, that is how you're going to differentiate. It's that simple. It's what the customer is going to drive the innovation in the automotive industry, and we're either going to adapt to that or not.
Awesome. Bob, we'll hear from you.
I'm going to tell you what my biggest focus for 2022 is going to be. It's measurement. Guys, if this was national advertising, like there's a third party that oversees it, right? And it's constantly making sure that everybody abides by how advertising is done, from the size of ad units to how we measure. But in our world, it's a free-for-all. Right? We don't set it up. We set it up differently in different partners, and we measure it differently. So we really need to unify measurement. We need to come together as an industry and say, hey, this is how we need to measure success. Because as soon as we unify that, we're able to then compare platforms across platforms in a unified way. So that's one of my biggest initiatives in 2022 is measurement. So I'll leave you at that.
So are we going to get our long measuring window back, Bob, is the big question. I think all the marketers on the call. So if we're talking measurement, do we get the full window back for attribution? You don't have to answer that. I won't press you to it. But thank you both for coming on, Kerri and Bob. It's been such a pleasure, and we wish you a very happy holidays from the Automotive State of the Union family and all the dealer and vendor family as well. Appreciate you all being on for sure. Paul, thank you. With that, I do want to say, like, it is really interesting to me. We're just seeing a lot of similar threads as we go throughout these segments, each with their obviously their vision on, but there's a lot of threads about the speed of this movement or the innovation to technology. And so if you're paying attention, like focus in on those threads, because I think it's been really apparent that there are others thinking that way. And that if we're moving in the same direction, and not everybody has to be doing the same things, but moving in the same direction, it's apparent that things will move forward. And then my last encouragement there, and you've heard this from both the last two segments, is dealers continue to press in, right? That there are vendors and OEMs and industry partners that are going, wow, dealers are speaking up. They're asking for things. This is a good thing. We've got some incredible dealers out there that are really pushing the envelope. And I think we'll hear from a couple of those dealers in our next segment. But before that next segment, let's head to the roll.
Your boy JT, Jonathan Thompson with Automotive Marketing Gurus here. We're in the beautiful snowiness of Yellowstone. I've got my great friend and client partner, Mark Williams, here with us. So Mark, what kind of trouble are you guys going to be causing and creating in 2022?
In 2022, we're going to really just focus on our customer base and take care of our inventory. And it's so much easier when we team up with a team like AMG. They take all the other worries and just throw them out the door. So thank you, JT and team and AMG team.
Love that. We're going to continue to do that. We're going to share. We're going to improve everywhere we can with dealer groups, marketing teams, through improved processes with marketing, all based through technology. Let's make some trouble in 2022.
Oh, that's great. That's the first time I saw that one. We're just ramping up in intensity. We have Brian Benstock and Peter Cooper. We're troublemaking with wisdom. We don't need that one anymore. But that was the best time for me to mention this, is that actually I borrowed Brian Benstock's suit, which is why he's in my t-shirt. I'm wearing the suit. Brian, I don't know if you can go to the tight camera right here. Can you go to the tight shot? All right, let's take a look. How's my full Windsor look? Is it looking all right?
Solid knot, man. Solid knot.
That's all I needed. I'm going to go home now, and I just wanted to make sure we recorded that on screen. But Brian, Peter, welcome to the program. Thanks for taking a few minutes out of your day to spend with us here in the Extravaganza. It's been an amazing day so far. Like Kyle was just saying, there's this element of inertia and velocity that we're feeling. And I thought, I mean, obviously, the two of you, I still am convinced that you'll probably make one of the most interesting shows on the internet if you ever decide to do that. But I wanted to talk about wisdom. Wisdom, that's experience, that's balance. Those are the things across life that not only make you a great business person or a great car dealer, but also a great contributor. So along with that, I just want to, first of all, give you a few seconds to say hello. We'll start with Brian and we'll go with Peter.
Good to see you guys. Good to be here with my colleague and friend, Peter Cooper. Can't think of anybody else I'd like to be in a room with, and I'm in a virtual room, but that's a room that counts. Pardon me for being dressed down. I'm taking a little bit of a sick day today at home, but I'm real happy to be with you, Paul, and with Kyle as well.
Well, thank you so much for being here despite being sick. The man plays injured. What can I say?
That's right.
Peter Cooper. Peter, welcome, my friend. Nice hat.
So thank you. You told me specifically I needed to wear a hat. So with all respect, I needed to do this for you. I gotta tell you, it's just for me. It's a thrill to be here with my friend Brian to do this. And when I wake up in the morning, every morning my iPhone tells me what I need to do first. And first I got to check my Aura ring. The second thing is I got to call Brian Benstock and to get my wisdom. But the reality of it is, Paul, I have you to thank for that tremendous introduction, and we've formed a great relationship. And every day is about figuring out how we can be a little bit, as we are getting older, a little bit wiser. So thank you for having us for this segment.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure. Okay, so we talked a lot today about a lot of technology changing, a lot of dealers pivoting and moving, a lot of, Bob Lanham was just talking about the dealers that were texting him when Facebook changed its name to Meta. And we're like, hey, Bob, I want to be the first dealership in the metaverse, right? So there's obviously this,
oh, please. I guarantee you that dealer's not even in the digital space. Dealers are so full of crap.
Probably not.
Bob, please, come on.
We lost Bob in the metaverse. So what I wanted to say along the lines of that, we have a lot of people paying attention to the future. Glenn Lundy was on telling us that the futurist that Warren Buffett cites is saying in the next, the next 10 years, we're going to accelerate the equivalent of like 100 years.
5 years is 100 years. Yeah.
So all that being said, I think it's very normal for when things are accelerating quick. The first thing to go out the window is thoughtful wisdom. Thoughtfulness can go out the door when we're moving so fast. So Brian, we'll start with you. Somebody who moves fast, but is also very thoughtful. What is the piece of wisdom or the staple that holds your feet to the ground when everything else is flying by at a rapid pace?
I think so. We're on a planet that spins at 1,000 miles an hour, and I think it's, for me, the strategy that's worked is really to be in one place and let that watch the changes and then react, or anticipate the changes and act in ahead of the anticipation. Both strategies work well. I think a lot of people are trying to catch up. And the gentleman you referenced speaking to Bob about, I want to be the first in the metaverse. That's a wonderful thought. But have you conquered the digital space now? And there's so much more there for us in the digital space. And I do agree, the metaverse is going to be something that's worth taking a good look at. But before we start looking at reality, we need to look at reality. Are we growing our businesses? Are we doing something today to prepare us for when business normalizes? And I think once a brain is stretched, it never goes back to the same shape. And I think once my financial statements get stretched like they've been in such a wonderful way, I don't ever want them to go back to normal. So we've been working very hard on what's the plan to keep these wonderful times going, and what is in our control, and how do we make sure that the robust net profits that we're enjoying now stick around long after the pandemic is gone.
Peter Cooper, same question to you. When things are moving so fast and changing so fast, what's the wisdom to keep your feet planted on the ground but still allow you to pivot?
So I think it's pretty basic for me, is that first of all, is we have to do a little bit of what you talked about, Paul, and what's predictable, what's foreseeable. Speed is a constant. But the one thing that I learned early on is the life is made up of impact moments. COVID just happened to be an impact moment. And for most dealers, it happened to them. And the reality of it is we've always looked at, say, how do we make our own impact moments? So how do we prepare for what's coming so that we can control our destiny versus something out there, our destiny controlling us? And it's very basic and it's very fundamental. You know, as B said, we're going to snap back and then things are going to change after that. The reality of it is, how do we prepare for what's predictable, what's foreseeable, and make our own impact moments? Don't let it happen to you.
So what is it that you say to the people who are constantly wanting to push the ball forward, but maybe being a little too foolhardy in doing it or too enthusiastic? How do you reel them back in and calibrate them? Because I think that that's a challenge that a lot of dealers may have, because they have some people on their team that are trying to push the envelope, that are trying to stretch and flex and redo systems, install new technology, install new processes to react. But dealers might not know how to handle that in a helpful way. It'll either shut it down and say, no, we're going to go super slow, or maybe they'll go too far, right, and break things. So how would you coach somebody how to deal with that, you know, that person who really just wants to change and try everything?
So I think early on, you know, Brian pushed me pretty hard in an area, and he gave me this book to read. It was called An Acre of Diamonds. And it really was, how do we address one thing at a time? And how do you look what we currently have and how do we maximize that? And the reality of it is, I think that most dealers have been very, very complacent. You know, they've made a lot of good money for many, many years. And, you know, change is, they're allergic to it. And as I said, if I'm not getting up every morning, first thing, talking to Brian and say, okay, what are we going to go to? What are you going to work on today? What am I going to work on today? You know, change is a constant here. And I think that the reality of it is, I say to the dealers, you got to get comfortable with it and you got to get used to it. And if you're not prepared to do that, I don't have 3 magic words or a silver bullet that will get people to do that.
Brian, how would you respond to that question?
I think the dealers are in a profit coma right now. I think they're in trouble. And you know, the seeds of failure are planted in the soil of success. We're all being really successful right now. And we've forgotten something very critical. The barbarians are at the gate. The barbarians that are looking to take over our industry, not just our dealerships, our industry, are at the gate. And the barbarians are bigger, badder, meaner, tougher than anything we've ever faced before. Scott Galloway, Professor Galloway, has a video that came out last week where he talked about the growth of Apple. And it took Apple 42 years to become a $1 trillion company. It took them 2 years to become a $2 trillion company. And now they're approaching $3 trillion as they enter into the automotive space. And, you know, I would say to my colleague Peter or anybody else that's watching, what's your plan to compete with the best CEO in history? And I think Tim Cook will go down as the best CEO in history. He took over Apple from Steve Jobs. Imagine that, taking over Steve Jobs' job. And then just keeping it where it is would have been fantastic. But he took it many folds where Jobs had it. And now that they're entering into our industry with the Apple car, all of a sudden, you know, I'm telling my team, how do we compete with those guys? How do we compete with Tim Cook? How do we compete with Apple? And forget the nonsense of competing with the other dealers. And I, you know, a buddy of ours, Kenny Hicks, has a saying, and I think it's appropriate here. Many dealers are doing what's tantamount to rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic after it hit the iceberg. They're going to make a damn difference what you're doing. Now, imagine asking Elon Musk. Imagine this, we're at a party and Elon Musk is there. And Peter Cooper goes up to Elon and says, Peter Cooper, dealer, I have one question for you. And Musk says, Peter, what's the question? Which DMS are you using? Is it CDK or is it Reynolds? It's ridiculous. And this is a question we're asking. They're using an intelligence that monitors their advertising, right? Every customer interaction, their transactions, the website visits, is all in one space. And I think we need to get away from that DMS mentality and get to an IMS, which is an intelligence management system. How do we predictively market to customers in advance of their own needs? And I think this is really what's keeping me up at night, is how do I get out ahead of the Carvanas and the Tim Cooks and the Jeff Bezoses of the world?
So, Brian, I think this is a question that maybe, we've got some probably large dealers, dealer groups on the call, or, some smaller dealers, but and we heard from Alan Haig earlier about just the buy sell activity, especially, but to the dealers that are, your 80 car a month store, 100 car a month store that are maybe listening, or a salesperson listening going, well, how do I even get to that thought level? Like, what's the next step for someone like that that's going, well, you want me to compete, but I'm locked in this 5-year Reynolds contract that they're being held back by their own preconceived notions. I understand that, but what do you say to them? What's the next step for them to get out of the weeds of that and start looking at those bigger players?
The biggest room in the dealership is a room for improvement. I would love to be an 80 car store, especially when you look at, let's say, your most valuable transaction. Your most valuable transaction is likely an exchange transaction. You take somebody that's in your service department driving your car, servicing with you, and sell them a new version of that product. For us, you sell a new car, you sell a used car, you sell service, you retain your customer, and that would be a great challenge, right? To be able to go to that dealership and do one transaction a day in the service department. If they're open 25 days, you take your 80 car store now to a 125 car store, 120 car store when you count the used car sales as well, and that could dramatically impact the dealer's bottom line. So whatever level you're at, there's always another level there looking for that, and I think that's the challenge that we should put on ourselves. And Peter and I have very different markets and very different stores, but I think we're able to, as colleagues, to push each other. And he kicks me in the ass every now and then, and I kick him right back, with the understanding we're dealing with two different vessels, two different ships, two different markets, but there are similarities there. We both have males and females in our market. As long as we understand that our markets are more similar than dissimilar, I think we can help each other along the way.
We have a few minutes left. I always like to leave dealers, industry partners in this industry who are paying attention with your encouragement to them heading into 2022, a mindset. What would you encourage their mindset to be moving in? Brian, we'll start with you and we'll end with you, Peter.
The mindset has to be one of Paul Revere. The British are coming. We're under attack. And, I think if you are going to be complacent now, you're going to be in trouble. And I don't care how big you are. You ain't big compared to, AutoNation's not big compared to Apple. Paragon's not big compared to Apple. And they're coming. And so, I'm challenging myself and my team. What's your plan when they come to your neighborhood? What's your plan when Apple's pushing a message to every one of the people that are holding one of these and saying, hey, come buy our car? They've got trade cycle management down cold. They've got development down cold, design down cold, marketing down cold. Very, very strong customer satisfaction. So they're going to be a formidable player, and I look forward to the change in the marketplace.
Very nice. Peter Cooper, you get the final word.
Yeah, so I gotta just piggyback off of what Brian said. If you listen to everything that Brian talked about, you can understand this is the voice of somebody who every day gets up to say, how do I go out, not to run the race, but to win the race? And the mindset is the best of times are really in front of us. If we look at it and say that's our opportunity is coming, it's predictable, it's foreseeable, and we are formidable opponents. But you got to get in that mindset today, and you can't let it wait to happen to you. You got to do exactly what Brian's doing day in and day out with his team. We're doing with our team every day is what are we doing next? What are we doing next? And how are we staying ahead of that? And how do we actually not look to stay ahead of it, but how are we actually, they say, you go the extra mile. There's not a lot of traffic out there. We got to be out there. And sometimes, I look at Brian, he just finished the marathon again. His last few miles can be a bitch, but you got to be at it every single day. I mean, he and I are up every morning. We're working out. He's working out in New York. I'm working out in Pennsylvania. We're all guys, and we know the guys we're competing. Yes, you are. The guys we're competing against, are young guys, and we ain't about to give up. We may be older, but we'll be a lot wiser and a lot smarter how we do it. So again, Paul, I congratulate you on having a great year. I congratulate you personally, on your family, on developing your business. And again, it was an honor for me to
share with this time with you and Kyle.
Peter Cooper, Brian Benstock, all of our best to you and your families and your loved ones. Brian, feel better soon, and we're looking forward to making a whole lot of trouble together in 2022.
Thank you, gents.
All right, we're rounding the corner to our very last guest segment.
And it's going to be a wild one.
Listen,
I'm just telling you.
Listen, we've saved this one to the end because we probably have one of the most unique experience creators I've ever seen in my entire life. We're going to talk about that in a second. And also want to remind you that we have one final giveaway following this session. So if you haven't already, register right now on dealerspushingback.com. Register for the extravaganza so you'll be eligible for the giveaway. And we're going to roll our final sponsor segment, and then we're going to get into this conversation with these fine-looking people that are on the screen in front of me that you just can't see yet. Let's roll the segment. Oh, it's a special gift. We get to go right into the segment. So today we are talking troublemaking with experience. We're throwing this card because we don't need that one anymore. I think I just hit the technical director with that. That was really skilled. But today we're so happy to welcome some new friends and old friends, right? Okay, we're throwing stuff.
Careful there.
Hey, but that's the only way we would do it with these people coming on the
That's
stream.
right. We throw things. We throw things. I'm so excited to introduce some old friends, Nate Greglich, Andy Guelcher, and for the first time ever to the automotive industry, we present to you, I feel like I need to present, the one and only Jesse Cole. How are you?
What an intro. Thank you, guys.
You know, the only reason it wasn't better is because if we stand up, the cameras will be out of focus.
That's right.
So you don't have autofocus on your cameras? What's going on here?
I don't think the TD can hear you. Just kidding. He's smiling over there. We're a little goofy. We've been in these chairs for 3 hours now.
Yeah, we're hanging out. I'm getting a little squirmy.
Which
Let's
is perfect.
go.
We felt like we could hear you. Okay, so we have represent. Actually, this is your segment.
Let's go. Hey, so what we're talking about with this segment is experience, and not the experience of time, but the experience of customer experience and the way that you engage your community. And we could think of none better than the team at Mohawk and that social media team and what Andy has given them the capacity for, and definitely what Jesse has done with the Savannah Bananas after taking that over. You know, Paul, a few weeks ago, you bought a hat, right?
I did.
From Savannah Bananas.
Yeah, let me tell that story quick.
Using
cryptocurrency, using Bitcoin. This is a fun story. I shared it with Jesse. He smiled. He's like, that was just a test, right? I must have. So I wanted to buy, of course, a flat brim. I needed my Savannah Bananas hat. It was out of stock at the moment. I got an email saying it's back in. I was like, all right, well, it's time to buy it. And it was like, pay with crypto. I was like, pay with,
let's go.
Let's click that, right? And then it was like, oh, I could pay with Bitcoin. And then went through a little process. And it was as you would expect, right? It's not instant because it's Bitcoin. Had a little bit of jankiness in there, but I emailed someone on your team. They emailed me right back. He's like, let's forget about the jankiness. Let's just make sure it chips because you just bought a hat with cryptocurrency on our website. So,
and if you didn't recognize at this point, like, we're not talking about a crypto company. We're not talking about anything like that. What we're talking about is a minor league baseball team. So Jesse, welcome to the show. Thanks for coming, man.
Fired up to be with you. I'm glad that actually worked. We were just trying to put that on there. Would anybody buy in Bitcoin? And you actually did.
Was I the only one? Was I the only one?
I don't know. We're very fortunate. You know, after the first shipment of T-shirts came in a few years ago, and bananas was misspelled. We had too many N's in it. Now we're fortunate. We're doing hundreds of orders a day. So I'm not sure if there's been others from our team, but I know I heard about yours. So I'm glad it went through.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Awesome. And so you guys know as well, we are minting the very first retail automotive NFT from this event. So let's make sure we're going to give you a POAP so you can have a token memorialized on the Ethereum blockchain, proof that you were a part of the first one in retail automotive ever. Jesse, let's just give you like 2 minutes because people are probably like, who's the dude in the yellow hat, unless they've seen you on LinkedIn or ESPN or all those things. Give us a couple of minutes on why you're dressed like that and what you're doing and why your stadium is sold out multiple years in a row.
Well, thanks, Paul. I stumbled into the baseball business. I started with the team in Gastonia, and it's only 200 fans coming to the games and $268 in the bank account, and realized that baseball was too long, too slow, too boring for too many people. So we had to change it. So read everything on P.T. Barnum, Walt Disney, and said, What if our players did choreographed dances? What if we had grandma beauty pageants? What if we made it a circus? And that's what we did. In 10 years, I learned in Gastonia and then started it in Savannah, Georgia with a brand new team. We became the Savannah Bananas. At first, locally, we were crucified. People said the owner should be thrown out of town. You guys are an embarrassment to the city. You'll never sell a ticket. But fortunately, people appreciated the Banana Nanas, our senior citizen dance team, and our Banana Nanas, our male cheerleading team, and our mascot Split, and the Banana Baby we lift up before every game. And, we went all in on the experience. And after only selling a handful of tickets to start, we've been fortunate to sell out every single game. And, the wait list is, creeping up to 14,000 now for tickets, and the season sells out a year in advance. And now we're taking the show on the road. So my wife and I are sleeping in our real bed now, and we're obsessed with a Fanatic experience. Our name of our business is Fans First. Our next book coming out this spring is called Fans First. And whether it's a car dealership or any business, we just obsess over eliminating every part of friction and entertaining every step of the way. And been so fortunate that our fans have been enjoying it and watching the shenanigans and really coming out in full force for the last 6 years.
That's amazing. Yeah, I think that the reason why we wanted to have you on, and don't worry, Andy and Nathaniel, will get to you in just a moment, but the reason why we wanted to have you on is because a lot of retail environments right now are looking at what does it take to engage customers in a way that we never have before, and especially retail automotive, where it's historically, and I don't know your experience with retail automotive, but historically, it's not like, hey, what do you want to do on a Saturday morning? Let's go to a car dealership, right? That's not. It's like it's maybe similar to what a lot of people felt about baseball, or still do about a 3-hour kind of like long process of seeing the pitcher go to the mound and back and forth and swinging to the fences. What would you say to the automotive dealers that are looking to have a differentiated experience over the next couple of years?
Sure. I think the starting point for us is we always say, what makes you different as a business? And whatever's normal, do the exact opposite. And I've had the fortune to work with a few car dealerships, do some workshops and keynote speaking. And, I remember one dealership I worked with, and I talk about the first E to creating raving fans, eliminate friction. And almost every single car dealership, people say, there's friction. And what the car dealership I worked with, they started doing a campaign called Stop the Hate. And they got their whole team to come up with everything people hate about a car dealership and did the exact opposite. And so, for us, we reimagine the experience. When you come to a game, most times you pay ticket fees, you pay convenient fees, which are the most inconvenient fee in the world. We eliminated those. You come to our game and it's, you get greeted by our parking penguins, and then you get an all-inclusive experience. Every single ticket for the Bananas, all your burgers, hot dogs, chicken sandwiches, soda, water, popcorn, dessert, everything for $20. So same thing about a car dealership. Think about what are those hidden fees, the negotiating back and forth, how you're greeted when you first walk in. And so we really try to map the experience from the first time people buy. And that's why every single person who buys a ticket or merchandise gets a thank you call from us, which is completely unscalable. And I have no idea how we're going to do that as we continue to grow. But it's those moments that matter. And we try to map that from the first impression to the last impression, which leaves a lasting impression.
I think that there's definitely going to be some synergy between the two gentlemen that you see on the other side of your Zoom screen. I don't know if you got to meet them, but we're talking about a dealership that fills cars with Easter eggs. One of the two guys on screen dresses up like an Easter bunny and has a killer Michael Jackson impersonation. I'll let you guess which one it is. But Nate and Andy, all right, secrets out. One of these two gentlemen on screen can give a high kick. They can kick the top of a door jam. I'll let you guess which one that is. Time for you to raise your hand, Andy. And but the point being, Andy, you have empowered your team to really go out there and bring fun into the marketing, to say we're not going to spend a lot of money outside of our organic advertising, and instead we're going to have fun, focus on the customers, and really give them something to talk about, laugh about, and draw them into the store. So, Andy, why don't you tell us about why you decided to do that, and then we'll let Nathaniel tell us a little bit about what antics are up your sleeve.
Definitely. Hey, thanks for having us, guys. It was interesting. We were talking with Jesse a little bit in the green room, and we were talking about that, got into the experience and what we do for our people as it relates to enabling them to have and dump fuel on their own brand. I think that really starts with their self-confidence. You want to talk about experience and everything that the customer is going to feel. If you have people who have a high level of self-confidence and know that their dealership or business is behind them,
promoting that brand and giving them resources furthermore to be able to really build that brand. I think that's super important. And we've gotten that done pretty good. You know, we've got a long way to go with some of it, but so far so good. And it's really paid dividends in the community. You know, people see that we're investing in our people, and that makes a big difference as far as wanting to transact with a business that really cares about that and shows that they do.
Yeah, you know, we Paul and I we kind of asked each other a question of, the question was, so what is the Mohawk brand? And we realized that the Mohawk brand is that everybody just wants to do business with them, right? That they're the good people in town. They're the fun people. They're the people that support their community. So Nate, maybe explain some of the things that you guys have been able to do, not just at the dealership, but actually within the community in enabling content or enabling like really cool stuff with community partners because of having that social media team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our vision is to really inspire our community, inspire everyone who works for us, inspire our industry partners. And this is just one way, us making content every day, going out into the community, being able to showcase what we're actually doing in the community rather than just saying we're doing it. We are showing them, giving us a lot of social proof. But we also offer, you know, photos and videos for our community that are around there. You know, a lot of non-for-profits can't afford a high production team to come in and share their story. So we actually are allowed, because of the investment in the equipment, you can obviously see we have podcasting microphones. We have a full live setup here that most dealerships don't have. And that's for the investment of being able to have podcasts for our branding team, and having the right camera equipment to be able to showcase all the amazing employees that work here at Mohawk and what they do outside in the community. It's an integration between working and living, and it's your life is your life. You work and you're also a part of the community that you work in. So whether you're you're coaching your kids' basketball team, or you go every Sunday and you hand out cheeseburgers to those less fortunate because you never forgot where you came from. We are so grateful to have all of these employees here and to showcase them as a part of themselves, their brand. So it's just amazing to see what we're allowed to do, and showcase the amazing non-for-profits in the local area.
So, and Andy, like just thinking about the way that your community is experiencing your brand prior to coming into contact, maybe in the showroom, what are you looking at in the showroom, especially to kind of like make that a seamless transition where the fun and the feeling on social media, or when your team is doing nonprofit work or given that video capacity, or the social team is out there doing the community work, how is that translating in the showroom to a showroom experience or an online experience for you all?
So it's really important that, you know, obviously that's going to be a source for people coming in, and we do want that to translate, and we do want to make sure that people are understanding who they're dealing with. And not everybody might have that same, you know, aptitude with social and being able to use it as it relates to identifying what we're doing or who's doing, you know, in the community. So when they do come in, we want to make sure that experience is as easy as possible. And a lot of people talk about, you know, Jesse mentioned frictionless, and, you know, there's a lot of different acronyms or different buzzwords that you put around customer experience, but at the end of the day, experience is experience. And if you're focused on the customer and meeting their needs and doing what they want to do and how they want to do it, there's always a great marriage to be found, because retail is retail. It's certainly not rocket science. And if you're focused on what the customer needs, it's really going to make it easier for them, and ultimately make it easier for us and our team to continue to transact.
Okay, so I have some things cooking in my brain. I'm looking at the screen, and I'm seeing everybody here, and I'm looking at like not just the brain power, but the imagination power that's represented by the people on the Zoom call. And I think it would be an absolute tragedy if we don't leverage some of Jesse's imagination to come up with one of the most outrageous initiatives in retail automotive that we can while we're on the Zoom call. Because I'm telling you, Jesse, the team on the other side of the screen is the one who will try it. So you just got back.
Wait, Jesse, can I jump in, Jesse, and just do the one that you inspired me to do in the green room?
Yeah, let's just go there.
Oh,
yeah, that's a lot of pressure.
Of course,
take all the pressure off, Jesse.
Okay, look, Danielle back here better be recording.
We're going to give, and again, to Jesse's point, I don't know how this is scalable or how we're going to pull it off. We're going to give every customer a flower girl when they come into the dealership.
Oh, come on.
That is just going to throw flowers down wherever they go. To the bathroom, they go into service, they come back to the desk, they go into test drive. I don't know how we're going to do that on the roads. We're going to have to figure that out. But we're going to give every customer a flower girl when they walk in the showroom. That was right out of Jesse's book.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
That's lights out. I mean, look, who wouldn't want to like walk down the aisle to their car with a flower girl? Like the marriage, the match made in heaven of you walking in to your car, like getting like that relationship building element of having a flower girl. I cannot wait to see this.
So let me ask you this. How did that actually come up? What got you to the point where you're just thinking about ways that you can do things like this in the green room? Who started it?
Well, Andy, you said you saw that video of us doing that on TikTok, right?
Yeah, Jesse has a pretty robust social media presence.
He does.
And there was he had a batter come up to the plate, and he had a flower girl that led the batter up to the plate. It was fantastic. That's how it came up. So Jesse gets full credit for that, by the way.
Well, what's funny is you missed, and our videographer got distracted. The guy that went after it was her father, and he was the flower dude. And he did this whole thing getting over the top as a dude and started thrusting his hips on home plate, which was completely inappropriate. I'm glad we actually didn't film that one. So that inspired one other thing. But I will actually add one thing, Paul. You think about entrances, you think about fun ways. People walk into the store, the retail store. You know, what is that like over the top moment? Like we plan WWE entrances, you know, where our players come in and Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan. You know, we plan where our pep band introduces players. So if there's ways to make your customers feel like stars over the top with a flower girl, so I'm like, that's a moment they'll never forget. And they'll come home and say, you wouldn't believe what happened at the dealership today.
And you know what else?
Marketing area.
You know what really caters to that? I love how you think about that, because that's the memorable moment, right? The entrance, and then maybe one other point if it's really fantastic, but the entrance is something people remember. In automotive, right? Everyone loves driving the new car home, right? That's like you just did all the work. So you could really think about like an exit, like a dramatic exit with your new vehicle. I think that automotive is keyed up for, I mean, because think it's usually a delivery area, right? Lights, smoke.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's the next level to like, there's so many dealerships that have done the gong thing, but what, like that's been played. What's the next level of that?
Jesse, what is it?
So maybe it's been done, but our director of entertainment who came from the Las Vegas Golden Knights, he like convinced me. He's like, Jesse, we need cryogenics. I'm like, how expensive is it? He goes, no, we'll get a deal. And he brought cryogenics, and two of these huge CO2 bombs go off when like things happen during the game, which people aren't expecting. Most times the fans just jump out of their seats confused. But imagine someone's buying a car and there's two cryojets and they go off, and you get the picture, the video of them driving off with the cryo, and you send it to them that day.
Right.
Congrats.
Right.
And it's just, they seem like they're a superstar.
Give them the TikTok moment. Give them the moment they can post and be like, that's you in that car?
Yes.
I love it.
Make them the rock star.
It's amazing. So Jesse, do you work with any car dealers for promotions in Savannah?
No, but that's also because of we eliminated all advertising from our stadium because we thought that was a great business move 2 weeks before the pandemic hit. That's a whole other story. But, no, we don't have any ads at our stadium. We do experiences. Okay. So we will be working on like special picking up fans in the parking lot, special cars, and ad experience. But we don't have any typical ad experiences. Okay. So that's so not right now. We have in the past, yes.
This is me. Can we get a tight shot? This is me not being surprised. You can't buy a yellow tuxedo. You can buy a yellow tuxedo,
right?
But you can't buy that man in the yellow tuxedo,
right?
Well, maybe
you can't buy him, and not just that, but
as I'm saying that, he's like, and we've been acquired.
No, but I would challenge a Savannah dealer or someone near Jesse to get super innovative about the collaboration and the partnership that might happen. To not just like slap an ad on a home run banner.
Doesn't
right?
work there.
That's not how that works. What if there's a Savannah dealer or a local Atlanta dealer that might actually get innovative enough to think outside the box in the way that Jesse might? I think you might actually get excited about that.
I don't think you need to challenge a dealer in Savannah, Georgia. I think you challenge all dealers throughout the nation to pair up with one of your local minor league baseball teams or one of the teams and create an experience during the baseball game. I don't think it has to be just with Savannah Bananas, but any local team that you have that you want to. I mean, we have an arena football team. There's got to be something we can do to pair up with them to create an experience, not just in advertising. So
let's go.
And I'm sorry, we're just taking over the show, Paul.
Yeah.
Here's one idea too, is we brought in a mobile car wash. And during the game, we pick one fan a night who has a dirty car, and we don't even tell them. And we get their whole car completely washed and have a sign, "Thanks for being with us. Hope you enjoyed your game," with our name in the car wash. And so like that's an unexpected moment. So it doesn't have to always be something. A car dealership can think creative on how to do something cool for one of their cars at a game without blatantly advertising, come support us. Just do something cool, and then people will want to support you.
So tell me this, Jesse. Is there a Mr. Beast collaboration in the works?
Yes.
I'm glad I know who I am. I'm not that old. This is good, but no, not at this point. But we do have some fun collaborations. Let's put it this way: we come up with 10 ideas every single day and have an idea palooza every Wednesday with our staff. So when you look at 3,000 plus ideas a year, there will be some that fail miserably, but there might be some that work out this year. So we're gonna have fun.
I love that.
Very good. That's awesome. Hey, maybe you need to have an idea palooza every single Wednesday in your dealership. There might be someone in your dealership that just has the thought that might take your dealership to the next level in 2022. I think so. Hey, we're gonna give you just 30 seconds each to just give your and we'll go Jesse, Andy, and then Nathaniel. Just your encouragement to automotive retail dealers heading into 2022. 30 seconds on what you'd encourage them to press into.
I've talked about fun, and yes, we give away porta-johns and colon cleansings and do all that crazy stuff. Don't jump in that way, car dealerships. But I'll go with something simple. Stop chasing customers, start creating fans. It's been our mindset since the beginning. The name of our company is Fans First Entertainment. Every decision we make is at Fans First. In the back of our Fans First playbook that we share with everybody in our staff, it says, be patient in what you want for yourself, but be impatient in how much you give to others. Amidst all this craziness, we have fun, but the secret is that, we try to go all in on creating fans, and that's made all the difference in the world.
Amazing. Thanks. Andy.
Yeah. Go all in on your people. It's something we've been talking about for decades in business, certainly, and something that we are very quick to complain about when we can't find good people, or this person doesn't do this or this person doesn't do that. But really, what investment are you making in your people? And are you really striving to build your team to become the best version of themselves? Because if you do that in all aspects of their life, not just in the dealership, but in the personal, you're going to get a very well-rounded team player who's going to be a contributor to the community. And that is going to make all the difference on your P&L. I know it's hard for a lot of people to do that because there's not a lot of correlations between treatment, and your profit and loss statement. But man, when you can really go all in on your team, invest in them, focus on getting them to become the best version of themselves, and then your actions really stand behind that, it is an absolute game changer. So I would encourage everyone to make their teams and their people the focus for next year.
Awesome. Nathaniel, hit us with it.
I would encourage all dealerships to have at least one social media person, if not two. We found a lot of success in having one full-time, and I'm not talking about you bring them in for, 8 hours once a week. Have a full-time person on staff to be able to create content, deal with your people, and build the culture to create a better experience so people know what they're coming into before they even come into the dealership.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, hey, Jesse, Andy, Nathaniel, thank you so much for joining us. This was a wildly fun session, and I got a ton of great ideas, and appreciate you guys coming on. Maybe there's a collaboration in some way happening in the works. So appreciate y'all.
Well, he said he's coming up to upstate sometime, so
there you go.
We're gonna.
You will let us know.
Do something. I don't know.
Good. Well, happy holidays to you.
Flying through a B-52 skydive. I'm in.
A banana parachute.
Banana parachute.
Banana parachute.
Done.
All right. Well, awesome. I think that's
it.
That's it. Wow.
You are the last session. Happy holidays to you and your families. We look forward to, I think we're going to actually make a lot of trouble in the future with this bunch. So thank you so much for being here. We will talk to you soon. All right, we have a few things to do as we wrap up.
Stay in your seats.
First of all, we have a giveaway. We have some other great information, and we have probably an end slideshow that's probably worth just sticking around.
Yeah, the end slideshow I think will be fun.
I haven't seen it.
We haven't seen it, which could be really fun.
But Danielle made it. So a few things. Number one, first, thank you so much for spending some time with us here today. But more than that, thank you for being a part of this movement from the very beginning. When we were locked down in COVID, we didn't know what to do, but we believed that when dealers band together, no crisis can win. We are going to be leaning in on Automotive State of the Union next year. We're going to be, as you haven't already noticed, right? The podcast is our first real push on that. The automotive troublemaker, make a note. We would love to have you every day, every morning, Monday through Friday. Kyle and I give you our best effort for 15 minutes. So it's quick, it's fun. We're trying to broaden your thinking a little bit. We also want to make sure you're registered because we want to get you that NFT. It's free. We'll help coach you how to get it. And then you can say to all your friends who've been talking about NFTs and you've been on, you can be like, yo, I have this one. And if you know what it's about, you want to have the very first one in retail automotive. What else we got in there? Oh, big time. We put out one email a week.
Yes.
One email a week. It comes on Monday, first thing. We put our heart and soul into it. And we want to make sure it's gives you a little overview and maybe some less talked about issues in automotive. We talk about marketing and culture. We give you a little section what the kids are into, which we get a lot of feedback for.
That's a lot of fun.
Because teenagers and preteens do a lot of weird stuff that you don't understand. This is going to actually help you understand some of it. And we were just saying that we have a pretty good pipeline of teens.
We're going to be good for a hot minute.
Because I got a 15-year-old, a 12-year-old, a 10-year-old.
7, 5. Then he's got the gap.
Kyle's wife is
got
pregnant.
The next gap. We're
so
pregnant.
We have a nice, a long runway and pipeline of weird things that teens are going to do, and we're going to help you understand that a little bit better. So you can sign up for the email also on dealerspushingback.com. We would love to have you there. Love you have it as part of the community. And next year,
check us out. We're gonna be doing events. We'll be doing live streams next year, pressing into the email, making sure that you get good content. Hey, if you're a writer out there and you're going, I love to write fun stuff. I love the automotive industry. We'd love to talk to you.
Yeah, you like the vibe of what we're doing and how we're doing it. We are going to be hiring, and we need people that feel the vibe and believe in the industry and want to make something that everyone else wants to talk about. So reach out, DM us. We will answer. We promise.
Yes, exactly.
All right, giveaway time.
Yeah, let's give one more thing away. I think can we get the spin? Oh my goodness! Wait a second. So we've gone from this guy to the next size to this guy. We're talking to look if there's any technicians on the line that want to bump in the in the shop, or we've got owners that want to have a good karaoke session with
sales
the sales
meetings.
team. I mean, this
music during lunch.
There's a mic on this thing. It's going to be ridiculous, and we will ship it to you. No joke. I mean, Danielle will figure it out. Hey, let's get the last one.
All right,
Sean. Here we go. With the last one, we've got this is a very unique name. Not really. John Roberts. We hope there's only one on the live stream with it, but John Roberts, congratulations. We'll get this out to you. We've got that name somewhere else, so I threw that away. We're throwing stuff. We just did it. We did the 3-hour year.
Can't we stand up, but we're not on screen anymore. Oh, we've been in a chair for 3 minutes. Listen, we want to thank you all from the bottom of our hearts. Have a very Merry Christmas. Have happy holidays, and we'll see you making a lot more trouble in 2022.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Christmas is coming, the snowflakes will be falling. It's the most wonderful time of year. So hang up your stockings, put the tinsel on the tree, because Christmas is coming, my dear. It's the only time of year the reindeer fly. You can see them on their sleigh ride across the sky. Gather all your family round, or go out and paint the town. It's the only time of year the whole wide world turns upside down. So baby, light a fire and we'll toast the night away, because Christmas is coming our way. reindeer fly. You can't see them on their sleigh ride across the sky. Gather all your friends around, or go out and paint the town. It's the only time of year the whole wide world turns upside down. So baby, light a fire and we'll toast the night away, because Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. Christmas is coming. Oh, wait.